Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com MLB strategy deeper dive presented by Prize Picks. No basketball today. Calling up the A team, Dave Loughran, Adam Scherer, breaking down a 10-game Monday slate. Believe this is the second baseball show I've done all year. The last one was right around a month ago, so buckle up. This should be fun. Anyway, I'm Dave Loughran, Lafayette_D on Twitter, joined by Adam Scherer, Ship My Money DFS. We got a lot to get into today. How you feeling, man?
Pretty good. I'm looking forward to this slate. I'm looking forward to leaving right after the show ends to go to Camden Yards and watch Shohei Ohtani and Grayson Rodriguez. So it should be a fun day.
Nice. Sounds like a fun one.
Yeah.
All right.
First game of the year. So looking forward to it.
Where are you sitting?
Third baseline, like 5 rows back, like a little past third base. So like good seats. I wish we'd been able to get like a little bit closer to the plate just because of the pitching, but
lower level, 5 up from third base.
Yeah, I mean more like left field line, like behind third base, but yeah.
Still nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Wait, left field, you mean past third base, closer to the outfield, you're saying?
Like in the outfield grass, but like still down.
Those aren't bad seats at all.
No, like they're great. The only reason I wish I kind of wanted to get something different was just because of it being Ohtani and Rodriguez. Like even so, like I'd been looking.
Would you want behind home plate?
Right. Yeah. Like I'd been looking at like behind home plate, like higher up, so you could like see down. But there's like 6 of us going, and by the time I confirmed that everybody was actually going, like there weren't 6 left there. So
I wonder what a ticket for this matchup on the secondary market costs. 10 rows or less behind home plate.
It was between like 200 and 400.
Oh, I would actually thought it was more than that. That's not too. I mean, it's a regular season.
It's a Monday regular season game in Baltimore. Like that's as high as it's
going. Yeah, that's. Maybe it's different in Philly because I think home plate. If you had a matchup like that, Ohtani and a Nola, just throw Nola out there. It gives a good pitcher's duel. I feel like it'd be a lot more money.
Well, and also I'm not sure if I'd look directly behind home plate. I was just looking in like the sections in general, like
the good
dugouts
seats.
Yeah. Like where I normally would like sit if it was just like me and a friend going. And they were like definitely more expensive than normal.
Nice, man. Have fun.
But, yeah, it should be fun.
Happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe to the channel. Hey, listen, we got no basketball today. Sixers are fucking garbage. And I've been saying forever, who cares if Joel Embiid won an MVP in the regular season? What a pitiful performance that was. Dude, I'm so fired up about that. Next time you and I do a basketball show, we'll get into it a little bit more.
How bad How bad Embiid is?
I mean, it's terrible. It was terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was absolutely awful. Everyone wants to talk about Harden, but I mean, you kind of expect that from Harden every other game. Embiid's a guy that needs just terrible. Anyway, we'll have basketball back tomorrow. Every game going forward is at 8:30 Eastern, so that should be fun. But hey, take a second, hit that thumbs up, subscribe. Let's dive into this. New York Yankees. Go ahead.
Tyler South said it's all about the bird bath seats now. Have you seen that?
No, I've seen the bird bath with the spitting shit out of their mouths.
So a couple of the players went to the Orioles marketing team and was like, you should like dedicate a section of the stadium to where like every time. So what they did is now one of the sections in the outfield, every time an Oriole gets an extra base hit, there's somebody at the front of the section with like a water gun that just like sprays the crowd like at the same time that they're celebrating on the field.
That'd be cool in the summer.
Yeah. So they started that.
I wouldn't enjoy that on March 30th.
Right. Yeah, that is true. But yeah, they started that a couple of days ago, and it's been pretty great.
Well, I saw fans shooting water out of their mouths in the stands for a bird bath.
I mean, that's probably a thing.
I'll find the video for you. And there was you said it was a home when they hit homers. Is that what it was?
Any extra base hit, like guy with the super soaker just sprays.
Oh, okay. I'll have to find it for you. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure I saw that and players in the dugout doing the same thing.
Oh, the players have been doing it all season long. So like,
they just got you. So they just got
the players have had like a water themed celebration all year. Like, I don't remember exactly what they are, but it's capped off with like the homer hose, the dong bong when they hit a home run. And then the players suggested they get the fans involved too. And so they put this section in the outfield where they spray them with a super soaker.
Nice. My daughter watches this show called Blippy, right? Guy's an absolute freak. And I actually spent 45 minutes watching an interview with him out of character to make sure that she could watch this. And guy's an absolute freak. Nonetheless, she enjoys it. Fine. Let her watch it. There's one where he goes to, what is it, Chase Field in Arizona?
Yeah.
It's still so odd to me that they have just a swimming pool there that people hang out in during games.
Yeah. Yeah. My sister and I were talking about that the other day because my cousin lived in Arizona, and like this is years ago. He texted me. He was like, "Yo, if you're watching the Diamondbacks game today, I'll be out in the pool with the Arizona Cardinals cheerleaders." And I told my sister, and she's like, "Wow, you and Josh really are like the same person."
Yeah, look, I think Jacksonville Jaguars have one too, but there's probably nobody in it, so you could relax. But yeah, Chase Field, you got a pool. Kind of weird. I'd do it, maybe. I don't know. I don't think I would, actually. I think it's kind of odd. But anyway, let's talk some baseball. We'll get you out of here in time to go catch that game as well. New York Yankees, Toronto Blue Jays. Be prepared for me to mix names up in basketball terms all night tonight.
Oh, so I've done baseball shows with you before.
Yeah, I've been doing basketball shows every single day, 6 days a week for the past however many months. It's going to take me a second. We'll get there, though. Anyway, Yankees plus 145 money line here, 9.5 point total. Let's actually start it off with the pitching situation in New York. Is this something that is 100% stay away spot, just given that we've got a long reliever situation going on here?
For the Yankees, yeah, I think so. Brito hasn't been great this year. He's not somebody I've really liked from a DFS standpoint anyway. And then now you have him as a long guy, just makes it even tougher to get there. And also, a really tough matchup against the Blue Jays as well.
Do you think I was reading something earlier that his first innings have been so bad this year? Like in the first inning, he's been terrible. Do you think they're doing this just so he doesn't pitch the first inning?
Probably. I mean, obviously, like my first thought was like that just makes the second inning his first inning, but
that's what I was thinking. But
like, at least but now like he gets to come in and face like Varsho, Chapman, Merrifield instead of Springer, Bichette, Guerrero.
Right, I get that, but he'll have to face him again. That's what I'm saying. So I don't really know how much of a difference it actually makes. I don't know. I found that interesting, but well, let me ask you this then. If we'll get into bats in a second, and there are some good pitching options on this slate. I think there's also a few spots that you could probably just get away from. Are you targeting pitching in this game at all?
Manoah is okay. I don't have a lot of confidence in him, but I don't have a lot of confidence in most pitching on this slate. So it kind of just comes down to like the ownership on a lot of these pretty questionable guys is very similar. So I think you kind of end up just mixing and matching them and hoping that one or two of them end up doing well. Manoah has been a good pitcher for most of his young career. He has not been a good pitcher this year. And so there's certainly, like I said, you're not going to be very confident. He's only struck out 16.8% of hitters this year. He's walked 13.1%, 5.76 FIP. The guy has been downright bad, and he's got a tough matchup with the Yankees, but at the same time, 4.2 implied run total is not that bad. And the big thing is, as you go through this slate, there's just not many pitchers that you can say like, oh, I like this guy and I'm really confident in them. I'm not worried about, XYZ thing, because most of them have some sort of red flag. So it just comes back to like, am I confident in Manoah? No. But if you're playing a bunch of lineups or even, a few lineups, is he a reasonable SP2 option? Yes. And that's just because basically every pitcher today has red flags.
Interesting too, though, that the Yankees actually looking at how they've performed against right-handed pitching this year, they have the seventh lowest strikeout rate against righties this season.
Yeah, pretty surprising. I mean, Stanton being hurt for a while probably helps that, sure. But yeah, it's a weird Yankees lineup where you don't have the strikeouts that you used to, but at least right now, it's also not the scariest lineup. Obviously, Judge is great, Rizzo is very good, Torres is fine, but like you have Willie Calhoun hitting fifth. You have Jake Bauers leading off. Not a knock on Jake Bauers. This is a former, highly regarded prospect that's dealt with some injuries, but he's not who you typically think of, hitting at the top of the order for the Yankees. So it's not quite as dangerous a lineup as it normally would be. That being said, I do think that they're still interesting in tournaments. Even going back to previous seasons when Alek Manoah has actually been good, he has had a little bit of a weak spot going up against left-handed bats. Strikeout percentage is typically a lot lower than against righties, gives up more power to them. So Bauers leading off at 2K looks like a very good value. Rizzo's pretty appealing at 4,700. Calhoun's hitting fifth at only 2,400. There is some left-handed power in this lineup. And then obviously I don't care what hand a guy throws with or what he's good at. Aaron Judge is always a good play. So the Yankees do seem interesting to me, where they're a middle of the pack stack in terms of top stack percentage. I don't think you can really point to them and say like, oh, you have to prioritize this team, because you do have a Coors Field game. You have several other games that look really good from an offensive standpoint, but the Yankees are pulling 2% ownership, 4% chance of being the top stack. They're middle of the pack in stack score, which combines value and top stack percentage. And you do get the added bonus of, 15 to 20% of the field playing Alek Manoah as well. So even though I just think there's a lot of volatility, I guess, on the Manoah side, he has talent, and certainly when he's on his game is a tough guy to face. And at 7,900, that gives him some upside. But if you just look at what he's done this year, he has been bad, and that gives the Yankees upside as well. And they're not getting much ownership.
What about the Toronto? I mean, I don't know how much we're going to see out of Brito. I don't know how many innings we get, but 400 expected WOBA, 285 xISO against right-handed bats this year. Toronto's got 6 out of 9 bats coming from batting from the right side of the plate today.
Yeah, Toronto is interesting. I wish Brito was just starting this game. I do typically hate or prefer not to get to teams in these bullpen spots, but you can't ignore them. They still have a 5.2, 5.3 implied run total at home. Brito, like you said, limited sample, but 285 expected ISO to righties, 272 to lefties, and you've just got so many good hitters in this lineup. I would like them more if the Yankees weren't doing the opener thing, but I still like them, and they're not getting that much ownership. 4.5% projected ownership, 6% chance to be in the top stack. They are relatively expensive, so they're coming in middle of the pack in stack score here, but they do set up as a pretty high upside spot at limited ownership.
All right, let's keep it moving then. We got 10 games to get to. Seattle minus 120 on the money line, 10-run total here. George Kirby, Tanner Houck. I mean, I guess the question here is, first of all, looking at the top pitcher tool, neither of these guys are grading out particularly well, but it does speak to your point that you mentioned earlier. When you're looking at just slam dunk pitcher plays, we'll get into a couple that are in very good spots. Like Merrill Kelly's in a good spot. Valdez is an absolute monster. Dude's tossing 7+ innings every single start. But is there anything you can take away from either arm from this game that's worth a dart throw, or are we better off looking for dart throws elsewhere? Because there's literally combined 1% ownership on these two pitchers tonight.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one because George Kirby is legitimately good. Not great at getting strikeouts, only a 20% strikeout percentage this year. I think he was around 21 or 22% last year. But 2.65 xFIP, good pitcher. Tanner Houck's not bad either, 20.5% strikeout percentage, about a 4 FIP. The problem here is that the wind is blowing out in Fenway. So you have a park that, especially for right-handed bats, is good for power. It's a good offensive park in general. And then you also get the wind blowing out. It's like 75 degrees. Sets up as really good hitter conditions. So when I did the show this morning with Neil, before I checked the weather, I just saw the total here and was really confused. Like, how the hell do the Red Sox have a 4.8 implied run total against George Kirby? How are the Mariners north of 5 against Tanner Houck? But it's just the weather, and these guys do let you put the ball in play. Tanner Houck, I think, is, if I had to go to one, I would go to George Kirby. He is more expensive at 9,400, but I do think he's the better pitcher of the two. But it's just tough to get to either guy because of how high these implied run totals are.
Yeah, it does feel that way. I mean, when you're looking at bats too on the other side of this game, Seattle with the right now, what's the top stack probability? 3rd
8%.
highest on the slate against Houck. And then Boston like 6th or 7th highest, but it's all pretty much, I mean, there, funny thing too, we talk about the pitching. There's no real clear top stack option today. Of course, Cincinnati looks pretty good, 12% top stack probability. But then you're just like 10, 8, 8, 7, 7, 6, 5%. Nothing's jumping off the page despite us having, and sure, more games is going to flatten this out a little bit, but nothing's really crazy, including this game.
Yeah, it's a pretty wide open slate. Like it's really weird because there's not a lot of pitching that I'm going to be like, oh, I really like this guy. I think it's, a clear slam dunk, like you said. But then like Neil and I went to make home run picks at the end of our show this morning. And I had to like think for a minute because I was like, wait, there's not really any like total gas can pitchers going either that I can just, point to the entire team against them and grab a name. It's just a lot of like mediocre pitching. A lot of the weaker pitchers are facing weaker offenses. A lot of the better pitchers are facing good offenses. So it creates what I think is a really fun tournament slate. As far as the offenses here go, they are both certainly playable in tournaments. Seattle's 3rd in stack score. Boston is 6th. When you look at the pitchers individually, Tanner Houck does typically struggle with left-handed bats. Since last year, 186 expected ISO allowed to lefties. So far this year, 227. So he does have that weakness in his game where Jared Kelenic batting fourth, Cal Raleigh batting sixth, two left-handed bats that have power. They would stand out regardless, and then the weather just makes them look better. You have JP Crawford leading off from the left side. He's a good value at shortstop at 2,900. And then I'm not saying, you can't play Ty France, Rodriguez, Suarez, Hernandez. These guys all have so much power. But at least with Houck, you can individually point to some bats that look good. With the Red Sox, it's more difficult to do that. Obviously Rafael Devers is always a good play. He's Rafael Devers. But like when you look at George Kirby, he's good against lefties. He's good against righties. You don't have a real weakness in his game that you can target from an individual bat standpoint.
And he's allowed 2 home runs all season.
Right. It's more so, hey, he's pitching in Fenway Park and the wind is blowing out at like 10 miles an hour and it's a relatively warm day. So it's just a good offensive spot. You can certainly stack the Red Sox. And when you play a lot of lineups, this isn't super actionable. But like if you're playing one lineup or two lineups, if you're just like trying to nail like an individual hitter from this game, I would look to the Seattle side first and look to the lefty power with Raleigh and Kelenic, Crawford for value at the top. But the Red Sox are still a good stack just in the sense of favorable hitting conditions, good park to hit in. Hopefully Kirby doesn't have his best stuff.
Man, he's had a really nice start to the year. You're right.
He's good. I was very surprised this morning when I saw the Red Sox run total, and then I saw the weather and was like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah. 0.4 home runs per 9, 4% home run to fly ball rate, which is amazing given that he's not a fly ball hitter. He doesn't give up a ton of fly balls and he doesn't give up home runs. It's pretty impressive. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, since the start of last year, against Kirby, lefties are striking out 26% of the time, 127 expected ISO, 268 expected WOBA. Righties striking out 20.5%, 136 ISO, 299 expected WOBA. Like he is a good pitcher, not a great DFS pitcher because the strikeout numbers are relatively low, but he's a good pitcher. So it's just very difficult to look at the Red Sox and say like, this is how you target Kirby. It's more so just saying like, it's nice weather in Fenway. Let's hope they score some runs.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Anybody else for this game that you want to get into?
Nope.
Let's keep her moving here. Next up, Milwaukee, St. Louis. All right. So Freddie Peralta toeing the rubber for the Milwaukee Brewers today. Jack Flaherty for St. Louis. 8-run total in this game. So low total. Milwaukee only minus 115 on the money line. So evenly matched spot. Both teams with, right around the 4-run implied total. So clearly nothing jumps off the page there. You've got Freddie Peralta getting 18% ownership today. Jack Flaherty pulling 12% ownership. Do you have a preference on either side of this one? Just, looking at both teams, looking at K rates, is there a significantly better matchup that we should be targeting?
So I prefer Peralta if you can find the money. He's just a better pitcher than Flaherty. We haven't seen Flaherty produce consistent results since returning from his injuries. Peralta has struck out 27.1% of hitters this year, 3.42 FIP. It's not the best matchup against the Cardinals in the sense that the Cardinals do have a lot of players with, pretty long track records of being good major league hitters. It is a decent matchup in the sense that they've sucked for most of the year. But the big thing is just, from a talent standpoint, Peralta is one of the more talented pitchers on this slate. The only pitchers that have a higher strikeout percentage so far this year are Pablo Lopez, Hunter Green, Jamison Taillon, but that's in like 2 starts. And Framber Valdez is tied. So from an upside standpoint, he looks good. The price tag is reasonable, but you're going to get similar ownership also coming into Jack Flaherty just because he is $1,400 less expensive. And we don't really know what to make of him. He used to be a very good pitcher. Now he's just sort of a guy. He's not terrible. He's not great. He struck out 22% of hitters this year. That's fine. Everything else has been bad. 15% walk percentage, 5.66 FIP, 1.37 home runs per 9. But the price tag has moved to account for that. A couple of years ago, if you tell me Jack Flaherty 7,600, the guy's 65, 70% owned. So this price tag does account for the struggles. And he's just another guy you throw in that Alek Manoah bucket where it's just like, do I feel good about rostering him? No. Do I want to roster him? No. But then the follow-up to that is, okay, well, who are you playing instead? And in that price range, it's just going to be a list of guys that you say, yeah, but this, and this are problems. So that's why you just kind of see this flat, like 10 to 20% ownership on a bunch of very flawed pitchers like Flaherty in this price range.
Do we generally stay away from bats here?
I think the Milwaukee side in particular is interesting because Flaherty is so volatile. He will walk you. He'll give up home runs. You do have some power bats in this Brewers lineup. Christian Yelich apparently has figured out how to hit for power again. Jesse Winker is free. Adames is cheap. Tellez is relatively cheap. William Contreras is a good catcher option. So if I have to go to one of the stacks here, I would go to Milwaukee first, just because I don't think Flaherty is as good a pitcher as Peralta. I think he is more likely to struggle than Peralta, but it's still just, a middle of the road stack. They're coming in basically right in the middle of the pack in stack score. They have a 3% chance to be in the top stack, 7% chance to be in the top value stack. So that pulls up their stack score a little bit, but it's just another, both sides, Flaherty and Milwaukee. I don't love getting to them. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they do well. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they suck. But it does kind of create a situation where when you look at their pricing, one side's pretty likely to be valuable because Flaherty's relatively cheap. The Brewers are relatively cheap. Either Flaherty pitches well and it's not hard to pay off a $7,600 price tag, or he struggles and it's not hard for the Brewers to pay off their salaries given how inexpensive they are.
Atlanta and Texas. All right, let's dig into this one a little bit. Texas calling up Cody Bradford. Charlie Morton on the other side of this game, though. What is he? 27% ownership right now. Not exactly the best leverage score. And I was actually a little bit surprised to see the ownership here on Morton, because you got a top 2%, or top 2 probability on DraftKings, 14.5%. He certainly isn't having a bad season at all, but we are talking about it. Maybe you could kind of crystallize this for us. With Charlie Morton, you're still talking about right now 21.9% strikeout rate. So, a little bit above league average. Nothing stands out that makes him look exceptional. 10.6% swinging strike rate. That's fine. And on the other side, you're talking about a Texas Rangers team that they strike out around league average clip against righties. They perform pretty well against them. ISO 183, WOBA 336. What am I missing with Charlie Morton today?
I think it's more just a matter of what the other pitchers on the slate look like. But I'm with you as far as I don't totally understand why Morton's getting so much more ownership than some of these other questionable pieces, given that he's more expensive. Charlie Morton at 8,500 compared to Jack Flaherty, $900 less, or Michael Wacha for $700 less, Manoah $600 less. So tough matchup for Morton. He's a good pitcher. His strikeout numbers are down this year, 22% strikeout percentage, 4.06 FIP is fine. If you go back to the start of last season, 26.5% K percentage against lefties, 27% against righties. Both of those numbers are down several points this year. So I don't really have any confidence in Morton. That's not enough for me to say I'm not playing Morton because I don't have confidence in most pitching today, but it does make me look at that 29% projected ownership for him and say like, all right, that looks a little bit out of place when all these other pitchers that are cheaper and I also don't have confidence in are getting less ownership.
Okay. Yeah. So we're on the same page. I clearly will defer to you on these things, but it did surprise me a little bit. He's almost 40 years old too.
And I just look at the top stacks tool, and even ignoring Pablo Lopez, who is his own thing that we'll get into when we get to that game. But like Freddie Peralta is $500 more than Charlie Morton. We have Peralta with about a 17% chance of being top 2 compared to 14 for Morton. We have Peralta at 18% ownership compared to 29 for Morton. It can't be that hard to find the $500 for Peralta. And if you do assume it's that hard to find $500, then why is Charlie Morton 29% when Wacha's 19 and when Flaherty's 13 and Manoah's 16? If salary is that valuable that you can't get from Morton to Peralta, then save more of it and get from some of your Morton down to cheaper guys that are just as risky. So that's kind of the weird thing to me. It's not that I don't like Morton. It's that I think he just kind of looks the same as a bunch of other guys that are lower owned.
All right. So with that in mind, then let's just assume that he is going to be popular. We'll get an ownership update before lock, but let's assume that he's going to be popular because we can't talk about Bradford as far as playing him today. He's not in the player pool. So what I'd like to do, I want to spend some time on bats here for a little bit. And if you're going to get Charlie Morton as popular as he is, but also getting this Texas Rangers stack at 1% right now. Now, of course, we don't have them with a massive leverage score, only 1.1%. Nothing really stands out here. They're not a good value stack either in that respect, especially when you're going against a pretty good pitcher. And Morton, you'd like to get some good value there and open things up so you could get some more expensive arms. Do you have any interest, though, in a virtually unowned Rangers stack before we get to the other side of this game?
I think they're going to be difficult to get to. If you tell me that you have a Ranger stack built and you like it, I certainly wouldn't talk you off of it just because the Rangers aren't going to be popular and they are a very high upside team. The problem that I think you're going to run into today, though, is just that there are teams that are offer a little bit more value, have a little bit better matchups, and also aren't very popular. So not my favorite stack. You can see the path that they would have to having a good game, but I think they're pretty tough to get to.
What about Atlanta bats against Bradford here?
Yeah, I think Atlanta's pretty interesting. Bradford was putting up good numbers at AAA this year, both in terms of FIP, strikeout percentage. Everything looked pretty good for him. But this is still somebody making his major league debut. He's made 7 total appearances above AA, and it's a tough landing spot. You never know what you're going to get from a guy making his major league debut anyway. Even if you are confident that they're going to be good major league pitchers, there's a lot of adrenaline, there's a lot of nerves. You never know how guys are going to react. Also, there's just variance in baseball. It's that's how it is. But then you throw this guy into the fire against this Atlanta team that just has so much right-handed power in this lineup with Acuna, Albies, Riley, Murphy. You got the lineup bump for Albies up to number 3. Matt Olson can hit everybody. Azuna's cheap, not very good anymore, but cheap. So you just have a really high upside spot for the Braves. The flip side to saying, you don't know how nerves are going to impact Bradford is that you can see teams sort of struggle in these spots where there's no major league video on these guys. You have scouting reports from the minors, but nobody has seen him unless they happen to run into him in the minors. And, the thing you have to keep in mind, we talk about it a lot when pitchers get scratched too. Like major league hitters are very dependent on scouting reports, video, all of that. Major league pitchers are too good for you to just step in the box and be like, oh yeah, I saw him warm up. Now I'm going to swing like you did in high school. So they're very reliant on that stuff. And it can make it hard to hit when you have nothing except minor league scouting reports on a guy. So that does sort of go both ways when you have guys making their major league debut, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it's a very high upside spot for this Braves team that right now is pulling 5% ownership with a 7% chance of being the top stack.
You know what their weighted on base average against Southpaws is this year?
I do not.
400.
That is high.
152 WRC plus 253 ISO, Adam, against
the power is definitely there.
Insane. Yeah, and they don't even strike. Not that you're talking about playing Bradford, but they're gonna put balls in play here. Not that you could anyway. Yeah, 5%. I would assume that this grade's pretty low from a value standpoint, just because these guys are, they're pricey, but
yeah, they're expensive. And it's the salaries combined with Coors Field is going to keep this ownership down.
Yeah, 5% still seems pretty low. And as you mentioned, just a very high upside spot for the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, without a doubt.
What's that?
I agreed with you.
All right. Hey, Chicago Cubs, Houston, I almost said Houston Texans. I'm going full football here. Not even Rockets. Houston Astros. Before we do though, the boy from Cali, holy shit, Laffy doing MLB. I'm shocked. Way to go, man! I was doing baseball shows years ago. I voluntarily came off baseball shows to do more off-season football content. But Adam makes it easy. I'll tell you that much. Plus, we got no basketball today, so they said we got to bring someone up here who knows what he's doing, knows how to host a show. And I said, yeah, no problem. Hey, MLB lineup generator. $4.48 for the first week. Now, if you had success with the NBA lineup generator, or like LX Foley here, Jordan can throw this one up. Our boy LX Foley hit us up on Twitter the other day. Huge win last night using the lineup generator data. 15,000. You'll see him in the Hall of Fame coming up right after this. We filmed a brand new segment with some bangers coming up before this and live before live. LX Foley, little $15,000 with the NBA lineup generator. We saw massive wins all season on that. Same with the NFL lineup generator. Finally, introducing the MLB lineup generator. It's less than $4.50 for the first week. You click the link in the description or in chat if you're looking to take advantage of that. Here's the cool thing about it, right? You're taking lineups that are we're already sorting out the best lineups for you. And you can set your stack type as well. So let's say you're on DraftKings. You go, I'd like this many 4-4 stacks, this many 5-2-1s, this many 5-3 stacks. You can lock players in. You can also be like, you know what? I just really don't like this player today. You don't want to get too crazy with messing around with these as far as like putting your own touch on everything from a lineup, because then you're defeating the purpose. But you can swap players out as well. You have a lot of flexibility as to what you can do with this. You can upload them to CSV and effortlessly put them straight into DraftKings or on FanDuel. It's optimized for mobile. And like I said, you're talking less than $4.50 for the first week. So even if you're someone that plays $2 a day, and maybe you don't have a ton of time to research, right? You got a demanding life. You're working your ass off. Come home to people yelling in your ear. And you're just like, I don't have time for this, but I love DFS. I want to get in on it. Very simple. Lineup generator takes literal seconds to generate as many lineups as you want. You can discard the ones you don't like, save the ones you like. And like I said, we're already throwing the bad lineups out, keeping the good ones. You can see the ownership projections for all of them, where it's going to be, how chalky, how contrarian, and the projection, right? Optimal score, how close it is to that, how far away it is for that. You're looking to find the balance. Once you figure that out, you're going to be in business. So you're talking $4.48 first week, less than $4.50. Check it out. And if you hate it, you're down less money than you lose in your sleep, really. So I think you'll like it, though. And it's going to make your life way easier, whether you're playing $2 a day or a lot of money. It's just a great tool to have in the toolkit going into MLB DFS. Check it out. Link in the description and in chat. Get half off, 50% off your first week. All right, let's keep this one going here. Where are we at? We're going to Chicago and Houston, right? Chicago plus 165 here. Jameson Taillon, and I used to call never mind. And Framber Valdez. Let's start with Framber Valdez here. Dude's been an absolute workhorse to start off the season, just dominant from top to bottom. He is going to be popular today. He is also expensive today. But I think a lot of that is understood just looking at the alternative pitching options. 29% top 2 probability on DraftKings, looking at the MLB top pitchers tool. Nobody else is above 18% today, Adam.
Yeah, Valdez is the only pitcher that I can talk about without saying, yeah, but this is working against him. Now, I'm sure he's going to pitch poorly for that reason, but going into the game, at least, he's the only guy that just doesn't have a bunch of red flags around him. The matchup with the Cubs is fine. 3.2 implied run total. Valdez is good at going deep in the games, like you said. He's excellent at getting ground balls. The one knock on him in previous years is that for his price tag, he's not a great strikeout pitcher, normally living around like 22%. So far this year, he struck out 27% of hitters. Don't know if that's going to continue or not. I looked at his pitch mix a little bit on the show with Neil this morning, and from a percentage standpoint, it's pretty much in line with what he's done in the past. So I haven't figured out exactly why he's striking guys out more, but he has. And, we are 7-8 starts into the year now. Looks very, very good. The ownership makes sense to me. Like you said, he's running away from the pack in terms of top 2 pitcher percentage at 29%. Next highest is Merrill Kelly at 17.5. So he is the most popular pitcher on the slate at 10-7. I think he should be. I don't have anything negative to say about Valdez.
Do you have anything positive to say about Jameson Taillon?
He's not popular. So
I guess that's true.
I mean, I say that, kind of jokingly, but like he's 2% owned. It's a tough matchup with the Astros. I don't like the idea of playing a lot of Jameson Taillon, but he's 2% owned. Alek Manoah, 16%, Flaherty, 13%, Waka, 19%, Morton, 29%. You have all of these guys, pretty much every pitcher other than like Tanner Houck and George Kirby that you could argue is viable is getting double-digit ownership, and Jameson Taillon's not. So it's not that I think he's very likely to have success, but if you do have a lineup build where you're stacking a pretty popular team and it's forcing you into that, $7,500 to $8,500 price range, and you need to save ownership, Taillon is at least worth a, screw it, hope it works out type play. Like he's good enough, he can have a good start. So that's kind of the endorsement for Taillon is he's probably going to suck, but he does at least have the talent to get it done at low ownership. I could see him at least showing up in lineups for me. But, again, he is further down the top pitchers tool than those guys. He does project below, those guys as well.
4.7 implied run total for Houston today. They're not popular either, but I guess it comes back to one of these questions. Like I'll ask you this, because if we're looking at ownership in the top stacks tool, you have Houston 3.7% ownership score, 2.6 top value, but then you've got an Atlanta team that's really only 1% higher in ownership, same value, better stack score. You know, we got our own stack score here on the right side, on the right column. Would you rather be getting overweight on Houston stacks or Atlanta stacks if you had to choose one?
I would go Atlanta first. Just, you know, you're facing a guy making his major league debut as opposed to a proven good enough starter in Jamison Tyon. But I do think they are comparable. You know, Houston, you have a ton of power in this lineup as well. Individually, I really like Tucker and Alvarez. Obviously, that's not going out on too much of a limb, but Tyon does typically have a little bit more issues with left-handed power than right-handed, and you get, you know, the two best power bats in this lineup from the left side. So I think they are kind of similar in that it's not an ideal spot, but there is a really high ceiling. I do like getting to the Braves a little bit more, but, you know, Houston still looks fine, and individually, Alvarez and Tucker look good.
All right. And yeah, Chuck Deuces, no, listen, man, been doing this a long time, professional enough to let the whole Sixers losing yesterday roll off my shoulders. Plus, every other Philly team has lost the championship this season. So outside of the Flyers, I really thought it was
not even good enough to get there.
What's that?
I said, unfortunately, Embiid's not even good enough to lose a championship.
Damn right, dude. You're absolutely right. And this is it. But I've been saying this. Like I've been saying to Josh on the strategy show that I would prefer a team to make a deep run that wasn't built around the 7-foot center.
100%. That actually plays like a center.
Exactly. That's the problem. Okay. He can't pass out of double teams. Right. That's a big issue.
Right. Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like Embiid is great. And I think he, you know, certainly maximized everything. Like he's a great player. It's so hard to build around a team like that.
You can't win a championship. Win.
Right. Like I had said, like, kind of to just try and piss people off, but I also kind of believe it. Like Embiid is obviously a better player than Harden, but if you just said that like one of those two guys cannot play in the postseason, they have a better chance of making a deep run if Embiid's out than if Harden's out.
I think because then you can space the floor, and if Maxey and Harden get hot, you have a shot of just winning from beyond the arc.
Right. And I'm not saying they're a better team without Embiid. Like
I understand, like especially not defensively.
Right. Yeah. Like that's the dumb argument you get with like, you know, oh, well, they win more with Tyus Jones. He's better. You know, they're better without Morant. No, they're not. But like, if you have to take away one of those two guys, they are more screwed if Harden's out, I think, than if Embiid's out. I
know it sounds crazy too, because Harden had a dog shit game as well. Right. But yeah, it sounds insane, but it's not. Sixers won game one without Embiid too. It's only one game, but they played a sound basketball game. But yeah, whatever. I really thought it was destiny that they were going to go to the finals just so they could lose it. And you could have 4 Philadelphia teams lose in the championship this year. I really thought it was going to happen.
They probably would have. They honestly probably would have won yesterday, except I hedged off my Celtics get out of the second round bet. So there was no reason for
that. Must have sucked when you saw Philly scored 10 points in the third quarter.
Well, it made me happy when I saw PJ Tucker had like 11 points in the first 5 minutes. Like I would have been so mad thinking I was about to lose a bet to PJ Tucker.
Do we talk about Chicago bats? I don't think we need to spend much time here.
To say about Chicago bats.
Yeah, there's nothing to say. Let's keep it going.
If you like ground balls, play Chicago.
Almost 100 thumbs up here. Appreciate you guys. Getting it in. I know I'll get as many viewers on MLB shows as we do NBA, which is wild since NBA is 1 or 2 games. But thank you to everybody who's taken a single second to atone for their sins and make themselves feel better about themselves and everybody else. There we go. 100 likes. Thank you. There we go. Only with 500 be what? That is great. All right. Cincinnati and Colorado. And of course, live before lock coming up. Who's on live before lock, Jordan? Greg Ehrenberg, Neil Ofield taking you up to lock here right after this. Yeah. All right. Cincinnati, Colorado. All right. We get to Coors Field. Let's start with the pitching, actually. So you've got a situation where you have Hunter Green, Connor Seabold. Hunter Green's pretty good pitcher, though. Good strikeout stuff. At the same time, though, you're still looking at pretty unfavorable pitching conditions for him. What's his price at? What's his price at today?
That would require me listening to you just
8,300 on DraftKings. So he's 8,300. He's still getting some ownership, as a matter of fact.
I'm pretty disappointed by that.
You were looking to get to some of him today?
This morning, he was getting 6% ownership, and I thought he was a really, really interesting play. I still think he's an interesting play. But when I went to write my article, I started to reference the pitchers tool, and so I refreshed it and was like, shit, his ownership like tripled. But
you
yeah,
also have, the preemptive pricing is going to ramp ownership up a little bit because he was 97 and 9,400 in his last two starts. You go to Coors Field, you're down $1,300.
Right, and there's a few things that make him still perfectly playable today. One is what you just said. The price tag came down. So just like we've talked about with Alek Manoah, with Jack Flaherty, you can say like, oh, well, I'm concerned because XYZ reasons, but the salary is also lower than we got when those guys were at their peak. With Hunter Green, it's not a performance issue. It's a you're pitching in Coors Field issue. But if the price tag comes down, that starts to mitigate that risk. Then you also have someone where, pitching in Coors Field sucks no matter what, because you have the altitude, you have the massive outfield, so balls fall in that wouldn't fall in other parks. But one thing that Green does have working in his favor, he's basically a fastball slider pitcher. The guy throws like 102 miles an hour. He has a good slider. Those are both two pitches that are not as impacted by the altitude in Coors in terms of movement as, your big curveballs and stuff like that. Stuff that moves vertically as opposed to horizontally is typically going to be flatter and impacted more. So he doesn't have to worry about that, at least. The Rockies aren't a very good offense. So the only negative here really is the game is in Coors Field. And obviously that's a very big negative, but there's negatives for all these other pitchers as well. Manoah sucks this year and is facing the Yankees. Flaherty, not very good this year. Morton, not great this year and really popular. Like we were saying with all those guys, there's red flags for almost every pitcher. In Hunter Green's case, he's pitching in Coors Field, but that's really the only one. And so I still think he's interesting to get to, not as interesting as I did this morning when he was not getting any ownership, because now you're talking about a 15 to 20% owned pitcher in Coors Field, but still no real issues getting to Hunter Green.
He's in the 1+ seasons at the major, he's got a 30% strikeout rate. I mean,
he has the second highest strikeout percentage on this slate behind Pablo Lopez, who's facing the Dodgers. So
yeah, the only thing, a little bit concerning, pretty decent fly ball rate for this guy for a park that's as cavernous, because everyone just assumes Coors Field is a home run park. Not to say you can't hit home runs in the altitude, but that outfield is so spacious that if you're letting fly balls loft up there's some of those are going to get lost.
Right. Exactly. It's definitely scary, but also the nice thing too is like if he's on his game, he's just striking you out.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Or he gives up a few runs, handful of runs, and still could give you 8-9 strikeouts, and it's a moot point.
Which goes back to something that I talk about a lot. I've talked about it with Neil a lot recently. Everybody looks at pitching, or not everybody. A lot of people, when they talk about pitching, when they think about pitching in DFS, they think floor comes from like facing a bad offense that has a low implied run total. It comes more so from strikeouts, because
100%.
One strikeout erases one earned run. If you have a pitcher that doesn't get strikeouts and he just gives up some ground balls and it turns into 2-3 earned runs, he gets, unlucky on balls in play, it's very hard for him to come back for that. Hunter Green gives up a 3-run home run in the first, and then over the next 4 innings just strikes out, 1 or 2 guys an inning. He's back to at least being like a positive, decent score. So the strikeout stuff is a pretty big deal. And when you talk about, other pitchers that are getting ownership today that are in, tough spots, it's harder for if Alek Manoah is really going to strike out 17% of hitters, it's really hard for him to make up whatever runs he gives up. Flaherty at 22%, obviously not as difficult, but still pretty tough. So that strikeout percentage really shouldn't be ignored, not only from a ceiling standpoint, but from a floor standpoint.
Yep. But of course, the elephant in the room is that the Rockies have a 25% strikeout rate on the road, 20.8% at home. It's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's you can't say this is a good matchup. It's not. It's just that point to the other pitchers that have things that you feel, that don't have bad matchups.
Right. Oh yeah, I'm not arguing you.
I'm just trying to get it across, because like I'm fully aware that no matter which one of these, no matter which one of these popular but risky pitchers pitches poorly, you're going to be getting the comments like, oh, you said to play Manoah, Green, Flaherty, whatever. I'm trying to get it across. So like all of these guys are risky, but you kind of have to play somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess we could talk bats here, and then we'll get to these remaining 3 games. So Cincinnati in the top stack tool, this should surprise nobody, is the top rated stack, but also by far the highest owned. Colorado on the other side against Hunter Green here, not a slight positive leverage, not nearly as high owned, only 5.6% ownership going to them right now. I mean, obviously we know that Cincinnati is in a good spot. What do you think, though, about the Colorado Rockies? We said all the things about Hunter Green that make him interesting. But also, like I said, there is some potential with that fly ball rate too at the specific park that if he's not striking guys out, only 0.92 home runs per nine this year, under almost 30% strikeout rate. So a lot in his favor. But what if he's not on today?
Right. And I've been playing the Rockies a lot this year at low ownership, and it's one of the reasons I'm poor now. But eventually they're going to come through. I mean, you still have a team in Coors Field with a 5.3 implied run total. That's, it's not the highest on the slate, but you're talking about a team that has an implied run total, a full run higher than the Astros. Looks like theirs has actually come down a bit. But a full run higher than the Astros. It's higher than the Braves. It's higher than both sides of the game in Fenway. It's the same as the Blue Jays. Like, it's still, you can't totally sleep on a team in Coors Field, and they're getting a fraction of the ownership that Cincy's getting. I do think that they're a little under-owned, but pretty much correctly owned. They're getting 6%, 7.2 stack score, 6.7% top stack percentage. So I do like getting to Colorado. I do like getting to the Reds too, though. I don't think that they're really going particularly over-owned. 15.5% top stack percentage compared to 17.5% ownership, but also a 16% chance of being the top value. In cash, you have a free square shortstop in Matt McLain hitting second. He's 2K flat, making his major league debut. 499 WOBA at AAA this year, 193 WRC plus in his 38 games at AAA. Minimum salary in Coors Field against Connor Siebold. If you play somebody in cash that doesn't have this guy at shortstop, play them again as much as you can in the future. In tournaments, though, still obviously a very good play. And the rest of the Reds, are relatively inexpensive for the most part. Jonathan India leading off is expensive, but Fraley's fine. Spencer Steer batting cleanup in Coors at 3,400, 4,800 for Stevenson, who's a good hitting catcher. Senzel looks pretty good. So like even at their ownership, I think the Reds are fine. Whether you're 5-man stacking, they're a team where like if you're 5-man stacking, maybe you use Jamison Taillon, maybe you use Pablo Lopez, who we haven't talked about yet, but two guys at very low ownership despite being solid pitchers. But you can also use them as 2 or 3-man stacks if you're going to a lower owned stack and you want to round it out with Steer, McLean, Stevenson or something, like that's fine. So there's a lot of ways you can utilize Cincinnati. And then, back to your original question, Colorado still makes some sense as well. It is a little bit of a watered down lineup too with no CJ Cron. So that hurts. Like once you get past Chris Bryant, the lineup starts to suck. But really once you get past like Randall Grichuk, the lineup really starts to suck. But it is still a pretty cheap, relatively low owned team in Coors Field.
Well, today's show is presented by Prize Picks. And Adam, you know that each day of the NBA playoffs, they are giving someone a shot to win $1 million, right? You're familiar with what they're doing over there, yeah?
Yeah, I've heard.
Okay. So because I was not on a show yesterday, excuse me, and apparently there were 2 different guys going for $1 million yesterday. Right? Because I suppose because there were no games on Saturday, maybe they did something weird. I don't know. There were 2 guys going for that on Saturday. And then today there's one lineup going for $1 million. He went all hockey, by the way. I had Jordan, here's another one too. So I had Jordan put these up I'm going to have him put them up on the screen. Not yet though. I want you to take a guess on something. And for those of you guys who are wondering, it is very simple. Anyone who enters a 6-pick flex play lineup on Prize Picks each day during the NBA playoffs, they randomly select someone with a shot at winning $1 million. They give them a lineup, a fresh lineup that's worth, I guess, $40-some thousand. Because if you hit all 6, you get 1 million. If you hit 5 of 6, you get 80K. If you hit 4 of 6, you get 16,000. Now, nobody has got the million yet. I saw a couple of them get 4. So of these 3 lineups, these 3 cards from yesterday to today, Adam, that gives you 16 picks. I want you to take a guess on something for me, okay?
Yeah, hopefully it didn't involve listening to anything you said previously.
I want you to take a guess for me from something. There were 16 picks throughout all of these. Okay, I'm sorry, 18, because it's 6, 6, and 6. How many of these 18 total picks do you think were overs?
Oh, 0. Oh, wait, overs 18.
18 of 18.
Yeah, not surprising at all.
18 of 18. Jeez. If they were just using the Bet Pro tool, I don't know, man. They were just using Pick 'em Pro. They wouldn't be doing this to themselves. I didn't see how many of them won. I would assume if someone hit $1 million, it would have been spammed all over the Prize Pick. Would have been posted, I should say, all over Prize Picks Twitter. 18 of 18 went with the overs. Man. Anyway, you get a free month when you sign up at Prize Picks. 3 months of all of our tools. You hear us talking about the top stack tool, the boom bust tool, the top pitchers tool, all of that. Just fantastic tools. Baseball tools second to none. Preeminent tools out there. The ownership, the top stacks, the top projections, the top hitters tool, all of that. The lineup generator, basketball, baseball, you get that as well. It's $120 value. You're getting everything on the site, not just for baseball either. Basketball, MMA, PGA, NASCAR, across the board, everything. And even if you don't know these sports well, doesn't matter. That's why you have these tools at your disposal to use at any whether you're playing in the nickel, the dime, whether you're playing in the big contest, the high stakes contest, doesn't matter. Everything is free for the entire month, including our premium Discord. Just use the link in the description and in chat. You're getting the free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, $120 value. Shouldn't even have to do a read on this. It's a no-brainer. And you're getting 100% deposit match bonus up to $100 at Prize Picks. So if you put 100 in, you have 200 now. If you put 10 in, you've got 20 now. You're doubling your bankroll upon depositing, and you're getting all of the tools on our site for $120 free on top of that. It's the best partnership. It's the best promo we have running now, hands down. If you're in an eligible state and you're looking to scratch that itch, in non-legal betting states, Prize Picks is the place to do it, hands down, no doubt. Of course, you're just taking player props, the over or the under. In all these guys' cases, there is no under option, but there actually is an option to select the under. And I promise you that sites like this are shading things to the over in a lot of cases because they know what people are going to do. They're all just going to take the overs. Be smart, be wise, win some money on Prize Picks, use our tools, and get to business. Link in the description and in chat. We'll see you guys over there. Pop in the Discord too. Say hello if you're going to join up for the first time. All right, let's get to this. Looks like I have done a poor job of planning this one out as far as time goes. Kansas City and San Diego. I'll throw this one over to you. I know you got places to be, and I know you can do some quick analysis here. Brad Keller, Michael Wacha. 2 righties on the mound, 9-run total. Kansas City plus 190 today. No surprise against this Padres team. Are you doing anything with pitching today?
Wacha's okay. He's in that mix with Manoah and Flaherty and all those guys where he's a mediocre pitcher. I don't have a ton of confidence in him. If you come to me at midnight and tell me what Michael Wacha got lit up, I'm not going to be surprised at all. But 3.5 implied run total for the Royals is pretty low, one of the lower on the slate. 18.5% strikeout percentage for Wacha. Not ideal, but good enough, I guess. 4.13 FIP. You know, it's just kind of taking what you get on this slate. Wacha's another one of these guys that just ends up looking decent. 6th in top 2 pitcher percentage at 13%, 19% ownership. I'm sure I'll end up with him in some lineups and just hope for the best. On the other side, not looking to get the Keller against the Padres. Just not enough strikeouts there. The only real case you could make for Keller would be like the Jameson Taillon case, where it's just like, hey, he's a major league pitcher and hitting's really hard. Maybe he'll pitch well at low ownership, but Taillon at least gives you better strikeout stuff. The Astros implied run total against Taillon is like over a run lower than the Padres. So really difficult for me to make any sort of Brad Keller case.
Do you like bats from either side?
I like the Padres side. You just have a pitcher in Keller who doesn't miss a lot of bats. Typically, he is pretty good at limiting power, but there's so much power in the Padres lineup that I'm perfectly fine taking my chances on letting them hit the ball. You know, Tatis, Machado, Soto, those guys are obviously the priorities, but then you get a pretty cheap Jake Cronenworth hitting second. Bogarts is clearly a good shortstop option. Probably will end up being a little bit lower owned today than he normally would, since you have a 2K number 2 hitter in Coors Field at shortstop. That's going to just pull down ownership from every other shortstop. Carpenter's cheap. On the other side, I never mind getting to the top of the KC lineup, and Wacha's not a great pitcher, you know, so don't be scared to get there, but it's just, you know, Kansas City as a whole isn't going to look as good as most other teams today. But Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez in particular as a 3-man, those guys are 3 of the best at their positions.
Connor Brogdon at Alex Wood, Philadelphia, San Francisco Giants. All right, let's dive into this one a little bit. Now, wait, is it Falter or is it Brogdon?
I think Brogdon's supposed to open and Falter's following.
Is that what we're working with?
I didn't hear what you said though.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Brogdon is the expected opener. Bailey Falter is your probable long reliever here. All right. So I'm not really sure what you want to do with pitching on this front. And then on the other side, Alex Wood, $7,100. He actually is getting some ownership today, or not ownership, a positive leverage score, 8% leverage score, only 3% owned, but we have him with an 11% chance of being a top 2 pitcher on DraftKings tonight.
Yeah, this one concerns me. I'm not totally in line with the top 2 pitcher percentage because I don't expect him to go very deep into this game. He threw 46 pitches in his only rehab start. He pitched on Friday, an inning out of the bullpen, threw 31 pitches. Now, I'm not reading into that because that's basically just his throw day. Instead of throwing a bullpen before the game, he threw an inning during the game. But the fact that he only threw 46 pitches in his rehab start as well, it just feels to me like a spot where if he goes 5 innings, the Giants are probably going to be pretty happy with that, 70, 75 pitches, something like that. So I'm not quite as high on him as the top pitchers tool. I'm a little bit more concerned, I guess, about how deep into this game he's going to go.
I think that's pretty fair. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess on one hand, he's looked solid in his appearances this season, but the most pitches he's thrown is 75. Like you said, coming off 31 pitches last game.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about that one. That was a relief appearance. But
okay. Took him 31 pitches to get through one frame.
Right. That part's not ideal. But I'm more concerned that he only threw 46 pitches in his rehab start. It would just be really, really weird to me if the Giants are like if he's pitching well, if the Giants are just like, yeah, cool, go 7 innings today, or throw 90 pitches. Whereas other pitchers in his price range, they're not any better really than Alex Wood, but at least if they're pitching well, you get those extra innings. So that's sort of the thing. Like Alex Wood can certainly give you a good enough score for 7,100, go get you like 14 points or something. But in terms of like, if my pitcher is pitching well, what can they go get me? I don't think Alex Wood has that like top to his range of outcomes that other guys do.
Also, that relief appearance was only 3 days ago.
Yeah, that was just his normal throw day, but he did it during a game.
Yeah, I'm just saying it was 3 days ago. How deep are they going to let him go as a starter?
No, I'm saying like pitchers throw bullpens in between their starts. He just threw his during the game for an inning.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you like bats from either side?
No, I actually just hate this game entirely. I mean, you do have respectable run totals here, 4.4 for the Phillies, 4.6 for the Giants. Obviously, you have solid enough offenses here, but the park kills home runs. It's fine for scoring. It's league average in that regard, but one of the worst places to hit home runs, obviously home runs win you DFS tournaments. You have the opener thing going on with the Phillies, which makes me not really love going there. You have Alex Wood, who's, decent enough. I don't think it's going to be that easy for me to get to either of these teams.
All right, let's wrap it up with Minnesota Twins and the LA Dodgers. Pablo Lopez, he's been pretty good this year. I mean, this guy pitching deep into games. I'm you look at all of these numbers, whether you're on Add More Funds, whether you're on Fangraphs, everything looks pretty damn good with it. It's 18% swinging strike rate against righties, 14% against lefties. X-ISO against righties is a little bit higher, 178, but it's actually lower than the ISO that he's allowed on the season. He's putting up some really solid numbers this year. I guess the only question now is, do you want to pay over 10,000 for Pablo Lopez against the LA Dodgers?
Right. So that's the tough spot. No, I don't, but it can work out where, like, if you're going to, let's say, a red stack where they're popular, they're cheap, a lot of people are going Reds from Valdez. Going to the much lower owned Pablo Lopez and just hoping he beats Valdez is fine. He does have the highest strikeout percentage on the slate. Now, if he faced the Dodgers every start, he probably would not be striking out 30+% of hitters. But he has been very good this year. And his red flag is he's facing the Dodgers and he's expensive. So, he has the tough matchup. It's tough to get to that salary, but in large field tournaments, if you do get to some of him to offset ownership, he's like an expensive tie on, basically, where I don't like the matchup. I do think the pitcher's good, or in Tyon's case, he's fine for his price. Lopez, I think, is good. It's purely an ownership play if you get there, but he is 4th in top 2 pitcher percentage. Like, you can't totally ignore that. Of the top 10 pitchers in top 2 pitcher percentage, the only 2 that are getting less than 13% ownership are Lopez and a probably on a pitch count Alex Wood.
Jordan, you're not going to help your boy out and tell me when I skip a game? Doing my first MLB show in a month?
I didn't even notice. No, we skipped Arizona, Oakland.
Oh, you just didn't want to say anything?
I too didn't want to do my job today.
What? But we can't. We're fine. We're fine. They're fine. I mean, listen, that show goes up to 7:07. So
the
really,
person I'm going to the game with just texted me she's running late anyway. So this is all on you.
Didn't want to tell me, Jordan. Help me out. You gotta help me out, man. I'm fallible. I make mistakes here, and I did. But you gotta tell me, man. All right. Talk to me about bats from Minnesota, LA, and then we'll circle back because that Merrill Kelly spot is big, and we got to hit on that for sure.
Yeah. As far as bats go, this is kind of a weird one. It's tough to get to either side here. I think Noah Syndergaard sucks. I think he's one of the worst pitchers on the slate, but you still only have a 4.2 implied run total for the Twins. Max Kepler's on the injured list, so that sucks. If you get to them, fine, but it's just kind of tough to do. Given all the other good hitting spots. The Dodger side is what sort of interests me because you're getting another one of these spots where nobody's going to play Pablo Lopez because the Dodgers are too good, but nobody's going to play the Dodgers because Pablo Lopez is too good. You have a lot of talent here that is just going to get ignored. I realize it's tough to prioritize either side because of the matchups, but this is just a spot where, you do have to keep in mind range of outcomes and not just median projections, because median projections are pretty modest for both sides because of the tough matchup. But if you just play out a Pablo Lopez versus Dodgers game 100 times or 1,000 times, there's going to be a lot of games where the Dodgers just light him up, or Pablo Lopez has his best stuff and, strikes out 8 guys in 7 innings and doesn't give up a run. Like you still have very, very high ceilings on both sides. So at low ownership, it does create an interesting tournament spot.
All right. Arizona, another one. By the way, I almost glossed over the fact that you're taking a lady friend to the game, huh?
I mean, we're meeting up with a bunch of people.
Oh, it's a bunch of you. Okay. You said there's 6 of you. Gotcha. Okay. But she texted you to say she'd be late.
Well, yeah, because she was meeting me and we were going to the game to meet my friends that live on the other side of the city.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so.
All right. Good luck. Let's go to Arizona Diamondbacks today against Oakland. Yeah, thank you, chat, for reminding me. And we got Merrill Kelly. This is one of the more interesting spots today. Jordan, I'm just giving you a hard time, but if I ever miss something, just tell you can tell me. We've been working together for a long time. I fucked up. Tell me I did. Merrill Kelly, $8,800, second highest top 2% scorer in the tool. Also, second highest ownership today. He's getting negative leverage because he's way higher owned than he has percentage of being a top 2 pitcher. But there's not a lot of denying that this is a good spot. Oakland has the highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitchers on the season.
Yeah, Kelly is the closest thing other than Valdez, I guess, to somebody that doesn't have red flags today. The red flag for Kelly is just that he's not great, but he's not bad either, especially compared to most of the pitching on this slate. He has been better at getting strikeouts this year as well. Again, probably comes down based on what we've seen from him in the past, but a 25.5% strikeout percentage, 3.87 FIP, pitching in a good pitcher's park against one of the weakest offenses in baseball. Merrill Kelly is as close to confident as I can be in a pitcher on this slate other than Valdez.
I think that's probably the best way to put it. On the Oakland side, I mean, are you getting to any other pitching here, or is it just Kelly?
Just Kelly. Yeah. Rucinski is probably the worst pitcher on the slate. The Diamondbacks look good against him. You don't have Christian Walker in the lineup, so that hurts. But you do get a pretty expensive top of the order with Rojas, Marte, Carroll, but then it just drops off. Lourdes Gurriel hitting cleanup at 3,900, Pavin Smith 3,200, Dominic Fletcher hitting 6th at 2,400. Pretty good value team, 5.4 implied run total. I think is second highest on the slate behind the Reds. So in the top stacks tool, they are second in top stack percentage. Actually going a little bit under owned as well, 8.5% ownership, 9.5% chance of being the top stack, and 7% top value percentage. So they look pretty good.
Yeah, and nothing to say about these Oakland bats. Dead last in every category in the top stack tool for the most part.
I just saw chat. Yeah.
Which part? The Manscaped
one? The Manscaped part.
Yeah, you already got the shirt on. Yeah, that's what it says, Manscaped, in case. So
yeah.
Yeah. We'll see you guys back here. Stick around. Greg and Neil coming up next, live before lock. Getting a little Hall of Fame action before that. Appreciate you for hanging out. Follow Adam at Ship My Money, DFS, me, Laffy_D, and we'll catch you back here for the next one. Peace. It's that time of the week again. Time to induct some of you fine people into the Stokastic Hall of Fame. Give out some free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, $120 value, and all you got to do to get your name on the board, to get that free month, download the Stokastic profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar. It's easy. Tweet your wins at Stokastic HOF. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and boom, got a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. More importantly, you get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Crowning achievement, a moment of a lifetime. And hopefully we'll see you here for it next week. But we got some great ones this week. Kicking it off with Johnsy 2000. Just want to thank the Stokastic team. He lists a bunch of names, not going to do all of that, but finished third in the $20 NBA shoot around. 1000x my $20 buy-in for $20K. One lineup. Finally have money to buy some super chats. And Neil, where do you buy your flannel shirts? I need some. Congrats, man. Huge win there. Single bullet. Amazing stuff. LX Foley. Huge win last night using the lineup generator data. You guys know it. It's less than $4.50 for your first week. Baseball and basketball. Want to get in on that? Congrats, LX Foley. $15,000. Second place in the 300K Monday NBA clutch shot. 2 big wins out of the gate. Followed up by Ben Snapping. Appreciate y'all, boys. Sorry for the y'all, Lafayette. I'll never be comfortable with that word, but that's all right, man. You can say whatever you want. It's your day. I know you're going to be the one reading this in the morning. Holler at me. Yeah, 3750 right there for Jet Life to the next life in NBA tiers. We got a lot of tiers questions lately. Been snapping, put up a big one. First place, almost $4,000. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, fella. And the 20K Thursday NBA pick and roll third place goes to JDJ 764, $750. Third place out of almost 11,000. Shout out to JDJ. Easy for me to say. And how about AG? You guys got some names here. AG 1216, bunch of robots, or Gomes 16, Go MH 16. I don't know. Anyway, he took third place on 23,781 entries, won $250 on 50 cents. Looks like a whole lot more than that as well, man. First place in the pickoff, first place in the elbow shot, second place in chin music, third place in the mini max. Huge night, man. Congratulations. Crash Money back again. When $5 becomes $250, you got to thank the whole Stokastic crew and Steve Buzzard, the Colts, for the office hours help. Yep, that's right. You get these free months, you're getting into the office hours. Steve's in there helping you guys refine your game. Who better than Steve to help you out? Best crew in projections in DFS. I could get used to this winning thing. Josh Prop, very simple man, at Stokastic HOF, $175. Second place in the 5K mini max. And remember, it doesn't matter how much the entry fee is, whether it's $20, $5, or 5 cents. As long as it's top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you're getting up here and you're getting the free month as well. Just like Josh, and just like, is it BLK, sir? Black Sir 89? Either way, shout out to the whole team. I'm always watching and using the tools at Stokastic.com and loving the results. Got a nice little ROI and the free month. I'll take it. Yeah, man, that's how it works. Like I said, third place in the wiffle ball, 150 max as well. And we'll round it out with Michael Thomas. Hit on my placeholder lineup. Always remember to keep that one in the game. But gosh darn it, leave more than a nickel and a quarter on it. How long until I can get that free month again, boys? I don't know. That's not for me to say. We'll have to go back and look. But congratulations, everyone. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. Welcome back if you've been here before. Remember, just rock that avatar wherever it is you play and tweet your wins at Stokastic HOF to get in on the action. And we'll see you back here for the next one.
Prize pick sponsor, right? Just make sure that wasn't incorrect. Okay. Just making sure. Just making sure. What's happening, everybody? I hope you're excited to talk about baseball tonight, because I know I am. This is rare. We've not had a lot of days where we've been able to do, MLB live before lock, leading up to lock. Going forward, though, we're going to be able to. Have you checked the NBA schedule for this week and going forward, Neil?
I have not really. I think I'm on an NBA show tomorrow, so I assume there's at least one NBA game tomorrow, but I haven't really looked at it that closely.
So here's how it looks like the NBA schedule is going to be going forward. We've got 8:30 p.m. Eastern time games just throughout, which means that we are going to have time on this channel to be able to do MLB shows leading up to lock, to do NBA shows leading up to lock at the exact same day. So not something that we've really been able to do the last few weeks. So more baseball shows. If you guys are playing MLB DFS, which I assume if you're watching, you probably are. If not, then I don't really know what you're doing here. But we're going to be having more MLB Live Before Lock shows pretty much every day now leading up to lock. So I hope you guys are excited about that. And if you are, like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you want access to all the tools and all the data we have at Stokastic.com, here's a pretty easy way to get access to it. Just sign up at PrizePicks using the link that we have below, because when you sign up at PrizePicks using that link, not only going to get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit at PrizePicks, you also get 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum to help you build some of your baseball lineups. And Neil and I, of course, are going to help you along the way for today. So Neil, once again, it's summer month, so no flannel for the flannel god. He's got Jay Leno denim on, it appears. But Neil, what is happening today? How was your weekend?
I don't know what a Jay Leno denim is, but sure,
anything denim looking.
I mean, it's not okay. It's denim looking. I guess that's fair. Yeah, it's really nice weather here. Somebody asked on the morning show this morning whether it was snowing in Minnesota right now. It's beautiful in Minnesota right now. It's actually great weather right now. I've got a seemingly sick dog who's been like following me around all day. It's kind of broke my heart to have to like put him outside my office because he's not feeling well. Apparently, I don't know. He's just like following me around and just like watching me, like telling me that something is wrong without telling me what it is. But other than that, things are going well.
Is your wife there?
My wife is here, but she's been on meetings. So like if she's in meetings talking, then he's just like, I'm more accessible to him, so he'll come to me. Interesting. So he's grown a little fonder of you now? He's always been fond of me, Greg. He loves me. But I'm still the very clear number 2, but like he'll come to me if she's busy. Like if she's on the phone, like clearly can't attend to him, then he'll come to me. Gotcha. Yeah, well, no, I haven't like closed the gap there at all. No, there's still a huge gap between my wife and myself. Yeah, that was kind of what I was curious of, is has the gap shrunk at all, which apparently it hasn't. But we've got baseball tonight. It is a 10-game slate. We're going to start by talking about the pitchers. Then we'll build some lineups in the lineup generator. And then we are also going to look at some of our favorite stacks of the day. So same deal as usual. If you guys have questions for us, if you have super chats, leave those in. If you guys are watching in the Discord channel and you are a Stokastic Plus Platinum member, one of the perks of being a subscriber to our site is that you get in the Discord channel and you could at us really at any time, but especially during shows when we could answer any questions you have leading up to lock. And Neil, for today, I am playing primarily on FanDuel. I have DraftKings lineups built as well, but I'm going to be primarily playing on FanDuel, which I think should work well because I know that you are going to be playing on DraftKings. I didn't have to ask. I just kind of know that intuitively because we're friends. I know what you're up to. So I think it's going to be pretty helpful for us to be able to break this down on both sites as we go through pitchers and stacks. But starting with some of the chalky pitching options of the day, and I'll have you address from DraftKings and I'll do it from a FanDuel angle as well. We've got a really chalky pay-up option here in Framber Valdez. He's projected for just under 40% ownership on DraftKings. If you guys are playing cash games, go ahead and play Framber Valdez. In tournaments, though, Neil, how are you going to be approaching Valdez on DK? Yeah, I'm actually going to be like right with the field. So I've been this year more and more with my pitchers. I'm not using a cap on my exposure as much this year. Today, I actually made an exception. I actually set a cap today of 40% across the board on pitchers. There have been some days where I've actually not set a cap at all. So I've just had 100%. And then, occasionally I'll have 100% of one pitcher just because I'm more and more leaning into, you can play the chalk pitchers. You kind of need floor more than ceiling. So it's okay. Even if they're not going to be a top 2 pitcher, I've been leaning into a little bit more. But today I feel like the pitching is so unexceptional across the board that I don't really want to end up with 60% of any one pitcher or 100% obviously of any one pitcher. So I did set a cap of 40%. I'm hitting that 40% cap with Framber Valdez. I'm comfortable with it. He doesn't look, he looks a little bit over owned in the top pitcher tool at 38% ownership, 29% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. But again, I don't need him to be within the top 2 pitchers. If he gets 24 points and then there are other pitchers who get 26, it's not the end of the world for me. I can accept that. Yeah, and I could talk about him from a FanDuel angle. Now, once again, if you guys are playing cash games today on DraftKings, you want to play Framber Valdez, and on FanDuel, I would also say on a single pitcher site, Framber Valdez is your guy to go to. In tournaments, though, I'm actually quite underweight to the field on Framber Valdez, which I have found has happened to me a lot recently playing FanDuel, and particularly when you look at, like you said, not exceptional pitching options today. Framber Valdez is projected for 28% ownership on FanDuel.
on a single pitcher site, I'm fairly underweight to him. Let me look at the exposures I have right now. I have Valdez. Yeah, I'm about half of what the field is. So not like, no exposure, but I'm in like the low double digit range, around 12% of Framber Valdez here, which is kind of in line with our top pitchers tool. We have Valdez with an 11.8% chance to be the top scoring pitcher on the slate. And one thing about Valdez, he's pretty consistent, but he doesn't really have the strikeout upside of a lot of other pitchers in baseball. So I think he's a very safe option today. But I do think there's a lot of other options that have a comparable upside that are just lower owned. So for tournaments on FanDuel, I'm going to be getting away from him a little bit. I don't feel great about it because I'm playing some really risky pitchers that I'm going to be talking about in a second here. But I kind of feel from like a GPP perspective, that's the way I want to go today. I want to find some really high strikeout upside pitchers who are not picking up all that much ownership. And that's what has me underweight to the field on Framber Valdez. And if he goes out and he puts up, like 60 fantasy points, I'm probably going to be screwed today. But hopefully that is not going to be the case. So then I want to ask you, Neil, do you have a favorite pivot for DraftKings purposes?
Interesting. A favorite pivot. I mean, so he's the most expensive pitcher on the board. So there's no like direct pivots exactly. I mean, I guess Pablo Lopez. I can go to my Twins. Obviously hate the spot against the Dodgers for Pablo Lopez. It's as bad of a spot as you're going to find in baseball. But Pablo Lopez, a talented pitcher. He's just 600 less expensive than Framber Valdez. We've got him at just 6% ownership with a 16% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. So I suppose as far as like direct pivots go, that would be probably the first place I would go. If I have a chalky lineup that has Framber Valdez in there, I want to get away from some of that ownership. I think it makes some sense to just pivot directly to a 6% owned Pablo Lopez. How about you?
So for me on FanDuel, I'm landing on a ton of Hunter Green, which, boy, you can't feel great about a pitcher going into Coors Field, right? There's an obvious downside there. Here's the upside, though. Hunter Green has ridiculous overpowering stuff. He's one of the best strikeout pitchers we have in baseball. And this Rockies lineup, despite it being, Coors Field, they could always put up runs here. This has historically always been a team that's really poor against right-handed pitching when you remove the ballpark factors. Now, obviously, the ballpark comes in play, but I'm willing to bet on the upside of Hunter Green, which I'm literally doing with my lineups. I'm betting on the upside of Hunter Green. But you're talking about a pitcher who does throw over 100 miles per hour regularly. And that is something that plays at Coors Field. Something that doesn't always play as well at Coors Field is off-speed pitches. But the velocity is always going to be there on fastballs. So he's somebody I'm getting to a bunch. He's actually my most rostered pitcher right now, projected for about 7% ownership on FanDuel. Once again, there's tremendous downside here, but the upside in Hunter Green is what I'm targeting. So Green to 8,800 on FanDuel, somebody who I'm going to be playing a lot of in tournaments. Is he somebody you're getting to on DK?
Yeah, I actually have 20% right now, and I didn't do anything to his projection to get there. Adam and I talked about him a good amount this morning for the reason that you gave, like because he's such a good fastball pitcher, Coors doesn't affect him as much. Now, obviously, if the Rockies are making contact, then that's when it's going to become an issue. But you're hoping with a fastball pitcher that they're just not making contact, that he's getting strikeouts. So yeah, I think that Hunter Green is a great play. It is a bummer that he's come up from, I think he was like, we were projecting for like 6% ownership this morning. Now we've actually got him up to around 12, 13% projected ownership on DraftKings. Yeah, we've got him at 14% projected ownership. So we went from like a really good positive leverage spot to an actual negative leverage spot with Hunter Green. But with that said, I'm still getting to 20%. I do think that he has as much upside as anybody on the slate. So and he's 8,300. So you're saving a little bit of salary there. I think Hunter Green, certainly a great option. I'm going to have obviously Rockies in other lineups as well. But I like both sides of that matchup.
I'm very happy the projected ownership came up a little bit, because or else I was going to end up with like an uncomfortable amount of Hunter Green the way I go about and build my lineup. So still have a lot of him. He's my most rostered pitcher on FanDuel. But I mean, when I was running lineups like dummy ones earlier in the day to kind of figure out like, hey, what am I going to be talking about on my lineups today and how I'm building? And I was getting to like 70% of Hunter Green earlier in the day when he was projected for like no ownership. So it's come up, which is limited or brought down my Hunter Green exposure. But still, he's my most rostered pitcher today. And we have a question in here from Einsteinium in our Discord channel. He wants to know Kelly or Peralta today. So I assume this is going to be a GPP related question. If this is a cash question, the answer is fairly easily Merrill Kelly. But for tournaments, Neil, do you prefer Freddie Peralta or do you prefer Merrill Kelly?
Man, that's a really good question because we've got Kelly with better odds of success, 17% chance being the top 2 pitcher to 15.5 for Peralta. But you do save a lot in terms of ownership on Peralta at 17% ownership, 31 to Merrill Kelly. It's hard for me to not say Merrill Kelly with the matchup in Oakland against the A's. Like it's such a good matchup for Kelly that I still sort of feel like I need to go there. But Freddie Peralta does seem like a pretty solid GPP pivot there.
Yeah, so for me, I'm just looking at my lineups and where I landed on, and I'm going to be on Merrill Kelly here, about even with the field, and I'm not really getting too much of Freddie Peralta. So where I'm really taking my stance at pitcher, like I said before, is with Hunter Green. Hunter Green is projected for a little bit less ownership than Freddie Peralta. Like, to me, if you want to be contrarian a pitcher, I would go with Hunter Green instead of Freddie Peralta. You're getting a little bit less ownership, a little bit more salary savings, but Merrill Kelly versus Peralta, that's going to be Merrill Kelly for me. Now, there's one other really popular pitcher we have today. That is Charlie Morton on the road in Texas. He's projected for 21% ownership on FanDuel, the second most popular pitcher on the slate on DraftKings. Actually, now the most popular pitcher, Charlie Morton, projected for 39% ownership over on DraftKings. To me, this is a piece of chalk that I'm pretty aggressively underweight to. Like, I'm underweight to the field on Framber Valdez, but I still have, shares of him. Merrill Kelly, I'm getting there. Charlie Morton, I'm not. I think of the three, he is the least appealing option while also coming in at the highest ownership. Our projections give him the worst odds of being the top scoring pitcher of those three. So Charlie Morton, is he somebody that you are getting to, or do you agree that he's overrun? How are you approaching Morton in tournaments?
I do agree that he's overowned. Currently, I have 23%, so I'm pretty well under the field. The field being at 39%. Yeah, it's a tough spot in Texas. I guess not as tough as it used to be in Texas. They now have a closed roof, right, in Texas, the Ranger Stadium. So that helps some with Charlie Morton here, but still not the best spot in the world. We've got him very overowned, as you said, 39% projected ownership, 17% chance being a top 2 pitcher, 13% chance being a top 2 value pitcher. So not really anything that I did to get to less of Charlie Morton, but even I set my cap at 40% again on pitcher exposures, got to 23%. Charlie Morton, happy to be underweight to the field there.
Yeah, underweight to him as well. And I think if somebody was to ask us, there's 3 chalk pitchers, they want to know which one to go underweight to the field to differentiate. Pretty clearly Charlie Morton to me. I think that's the one that you'd want to be underweight to. And you just look at the pitcher exposures and nobody's really picking up significant ownership outside of Valdez, Kelly, Morton. These guys are all projected for north of 30% ownership on DraftKings. On FanDuel, we've got Morton and Valdez north of 20% and Merrill Kelly at 16%. You go anywhere else at pitcher and you're being fairly contrarian. Are there any cheap pitchers below Hunter Green that are standing out to you today? And if the answer is nobody, you don't have to force somebody, but are there any punt plays that you are looking at to save even more salary with?
Good question. I think Michael Wacha against Kansas City, definitely interesting. I mean, he's just a little bit cheaper than Hunter Green, but certainly Michael Wacha is in play here against Kansas City. Jack Flaherty, happy to go there. Probably go to some Alex Wood at 7,100. He might be let me see if there's anybody cheaper I'd go to. I don't love playing Noah Syndergaard. Don't think I'll go there. Yeah, probably the cheapest I will go to is Alex Wood at 7,100. Don't see myself getting to any Johnny Brito. So yeah, I'd say Alex Wood, the cheapest I'll go, and then I'll play a little bit of Flaherty, Wacha as well below Hunter Green. Maybe some Manoah. Probably not against the Yankees.
Yeah, the FanDuel pitching slate is kind of strange from a sense of, a lot of the top end guys were projecting to be overowned, and then there just aren't cheap guys to go to. Like the salary difference, you got Hunter Green is 88 on FanDuel, and then somebody like George Kirby up to 10K. Tanner Houck is 8,600. So I'm playing some of Jack Flaherty at 8,200 on FanDuel, but there's just not that many punt plays I like at pitcher. There's just some kind of mid-range guys that I'm differentiating with. So I'm looking at some of my exposures here, and like Jack Flaherty is somebody I'm overweight to the field to. He's projected for 7% ownership. I'm getting to some exposure to Tanner Houck, who's super easy to be overweight to the field to because he's projected for 0.5% ownership. If you're playing 150 lineups and you have 2 of Tanner Houck, you by default end up being overweight to the field to him. So not like one cheap guy that I'm getting to, but anybody in the same vein for you is like a Hunter Green, who's a mid-range play that isn't picking up a lot of ownership that you think is worth being overweight to.
Yeah, I mean, Hunter Green is probably the one for me as well, if I'm just naming one. As far as mid-range plays, I don't know that, I mean, Wacha's getting some ownership. Not really. Nobody that's like mid-range and getting like single-digit ownership. If we're talking like teens, I'll have some Waka, some Green, some Jack Flaherty. I guess Flaherty at 12% might be the answer there at 7,600. He's in that ballpark of like kind of a mid-range in terms of price, not getting a ton of ownership, and I think I'm going to end up. I'm close to the field there on Jack Flaherty, and I guess I'm not over the field. So nobody that I'm like jamming in, getting well over the field that the field is not getting into. Merrill Kelly, I don't think you'd consider a middle option there, but if you consider Merrill Kelly to be like a mid-range option, I'd count him there. Somebody I'm going to be overweight to the field on 31%.
Yeah, and so for me, and by the way, we got a question in Discord chat as well. Somebody was asking us about Alex Wood. Yeah, I am not. That was Einsteinium. Yeah, I'm not playing Alex Wood today. So Alex Wood, he was coming off an injury in his last start, and he had 31 pitches. Yeah, I'm very concerned about his pitch count. He only threw 31 pitches, and that was 3 days ago that he had a start. So Alex Wood, not somebody I'm playing. Is he in your player pool at all?
He is in my player pool. So Adam pointed out that might have been just like essentially a bullpen session that he played in the game as a bullpen session. So might have a little bit more upside than, you would normally think of as a pitcher who just pitched 31 in his last start. But I might just get him out of my player pool because I am concerned there. He's only getting 3.5% ownership. So if he does pitch a full game, I mean, not a full game, but if he pitches like 80 plus pitches, he'd be an interesting low owned play. But there's enough risk there that I might just X him out, to be honest, now that I'm thinking about it.
And then is there anything else you want to talk about when it comes to pitchers? We don't really have any more questions about them. And I've kind of run through the guys that are most important to me, but any pitchers we haven't talked about that are meaningful for you? And if the answer is no, then we'll go and build some lineups in the lineup generator.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about Peralta, Framber Valdez, Merrill Kelly. I don't see any pitcher in my player pool that we haven't already talked about.
Okay. So let's go and build some lineups in the lineup generator. Jordan, if you'd be so kind and share it on the screen so we could go look it up here and see it at the same time. So we're going to build some lineups in the lineup generator. And by the way, if you guys want access to the lineup generator, there's a couple reasons to do so. We've got a link for it below in the description box. And when you sign up using that, you get 50% off. So you could get access to the tools we're about to show here for less than $5. And we've had some really big wins using the lineup generator. I know one that comes to mind is certainly we had a LX Foley who tweeted at us a few days ago. And yeah, this was one from the NBA lineup generator, but still goes to show how easy these tools could be and how profitable they could be. Because LX Foley, huge win last night using the lineup generator data in the NBA clutch shot, ends up coming in second place, wins $15K. And you guys are about to see how easy it is to use this tool. And like I said, less than $5 you get access to it when somebody like LX Foley here is turning that, $5 investment into $15K. Might be something of interest to you. We'll do it for DraftKings and we'll do it for FanDuel as well. But let's start with DraftKings, Jordan, and just click all stack types. As you guys can see, there's different stack types you could choose if there's different ones that you'd want to focus on or a specific build that you like. And then what do you want to do here? Do we want to do contrarian lineups, Neil? We don't really build a lot of contrarian lineups for basketball, but I think contrarian's a fun way to go for baseball.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. So let's build some contrarian lineups. We'll do it for DraftKings and FanDuel. We'll build contrarian lineups for both. And yeah, no locks here, Jordan. Let's just let it run. We'll see what ends up coming up here. So just you could save lineups you like. You could discard lineups that you don't like. And boy, Jordan clicked those lineups really quickly.
Yeah, he did not want to look at the lineups.
No, how quickly are these guys' fingers? It's a
Too
lucky
quick.
girlfriend Jordan has. Lucky. All right, so some exposures here. All right. So we still got to a bunch of Framber Valdez, even with contrarian lineup build on, which, yeah, you'll see here, that just shows how good of a play Framber Valdez is. And then also, as you guys are going to see with some of the exposures here, if you're just looking at.
Oh, he didn't click through it.
Well, it's okay. Yeah. We could still look at the ones you had. All right. Boy, Jordan wanted no credit for having a quick trigger figure, did he?
I mean, apparently he doesn't know what the ladies want like you did, Greg.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen anybody with a trigger finger quicker than that since John Morant the other day. Jordan knows what he's doing. He could fire him off there. So a lot of Framber Valdez. I'm wondering, what are you going to be doing with the with the Coors Field game from the standpoint of we have a min price shortstop who's going to be massively popular. And you can see pulling up in a lot of lineups here. What is that? 50%. It looks like it's a little hard to see the exact number on my screen, but 50%. So when you get a value play that's this good in baseball, it's a little bit different from basketball, right? Because while you still have somebody who's clearly the top points per dollar hitter play on the slate, he's going to be really popular. And this isn't like a min price center who's nearly guaranteed to have a big game. There's still variance involved in baseball. So how much exposure are you willing to get to him? As you can see, even in a contrarian build, he's popping up in half of our lineups, Neil. So min price hitter, top ranked prospect, playing at Coors Field, ideal lineup spot, hitting second. How are you going to approach him? Different on DraftKings and FanDuel, obviously.
So I'm only playing fully stacked lineups today. I'm doing 5-3 stacks across the board. I'm only playing 30 lineups today, and I'm just doing 5-3 stacks across the board. So I'm getting to 27% of Matt McLain. I'm guessing he's in a good portion of my Reds lineups. Actually, let me take a look at that. I'm curious to see how many he made it into. All right, so I only have 3 full Reds lineups, and he is in all 3 of them. All 3 of my 5-man Red stacks, which I'm probably okay with that. Yeah, I think he's obviously a great point per dollar play in as good of a spot as you can possibly be when you're in the 2-hole 2,000 in Coors. Like what more can you ask for? But hitters can fail. So like, I don't want to lock in. This isn't like a backup point guard coming in and being like an absolute slam dunk. This is baseball. Like there's a very real chance that McLain puts up 0 fantasy points here. You have to understand that going in, or even, I mean, because you can only play, like most shortstops are only eligible at shortstop on DraftKings. So like there's real opportunity cost there too. Like if there's just another shortstop who gets 2 home runs, you're going to need that shortstop, and having Matt McLain, even if he puts up 9 fantasy points, which is pretty good at 2,000, you're going to need the guy who has 2 home runs. So I don't want to go overboard with my exposure to someone like McLain. I think 27% seems reasonable to me.
Yeah. And then another thing too, if you guys are playing cash games, like this is one of the easier decisions you'll ever make with a hitter for a DraftKings cash game. You go play him. He's not in the FanDuel player pool. So for me, primarily playing on FanDuel, pretty easy. I don't have this crazy min price player to really talk about here, but he is in my single entry lineup on DraftKings today for what it's worth. So some other things that are notably popping up here, still getting to a good amount of Merrill Kelly at pitcher. Also catching my eye. You noticed before I was saying that Charlie Morton, and he was the pitcher who looked the most over-owned of the studs on DK. Well, at least when we're running lineups in the lineup generator, scroll down a little bit, Jordan. I'm not really seeing Charlie Morton pop up. Let's see, Morton. Yeah, so definitely underweight to the field on Morton in this build. We're getting to a little bit of Alex Wood. I would probably delete some of those Alex Wood lineups. Hey, there's Hunter Green popping up in some lineups as well.
Are we on FanDuel now?
No, this is DraftKings.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I just saw somebody in chat say he's not available on FanDuel, so I thought maybe that was the issue.
No, he's not on FanDuel. So when we're on the FanDuel lineups in a second, he is not going to show up there. We did get a super chat as well. So, by the way, any other thoughts or comments on these DK lineups, Neil?
I trust that they're good lineups because they came out of Lineup Generator, which already vetted the lineups, only gives us plus EV lineups. Yeah, I mean, for me, if I were using, I would probably not just click through. Like you can go in and discard some lineups in Lineup Generator. I would probably, in your first set of 20, maybe only choose like 10 of them or fewer. Like find the ones that you really like, because you're then going to be able to generate more lineups if you don't choose all 20. And you can see after you look through the first 20, you can see what your exposures are, and then say, maybe I don't want to have. I want to avoid lineups that have McLain in them, for example. Like if you have 70% McLain in your first, go through 10 lineups and he have him in 7 of them, maybe you don't want him in that many more than that 7 in your 20. So I think my approach is probably going to be actually not saving over half of the lineups in the first 20 that I look at, because I want to be able to look at more and curate them just a little bit more according to my risk tolerance. Yeah.
And by the way, something, because people are saying not on FanDuel. Yeah, these are DraftKings lineups. So the reason he's not on FanDuel is DraftKings prices pretty much every prospect ahead of time. And then when they get called up, now, in this instance, they did a shitty job of pricing them, but they have prices for prospects and they get called up. They're already in the player pool. FanDuel does not do that. So typically when you see a prospect getting called up, unless it's like a Wander Franco type prospect, they're not available for FanDuel. So we'll build FanDuel lineups next. So Jordan, pull up FanDuel. In the interim, though, I'm going to answer the super chat. And You're not going to believe this, Neil, but live before lock, what do you think would be the first super chat that I would get asked on a baseball show?
On a baseball show? I mean, there's no way the tiers comes over to baseball, is there?
We have a super chat from Slim Lancaster who's saying, DK tiers, please and thank you, Greg.
Oh.
Yes, I can help you. So looking through tiers, and by the way, tiers is different for baseball than it is for basketball. Because when you're looking at basketball tiers, you could kind of just play the projections. And if there's somebody who you expect to be popular, you could kind of get a sense for that and maybe look for pivots. Like baseball, there are going to be players that are going to be, greater projected than in other spots, but you can make stacks in tiers, which is not something that you really care about in basketball. You don't want to make a 5-man lineup of one team necessarily for tiers for basketball purposes. Baseball, go ahead and just, try to get stacks going here wherever it is possible. So tier 1, I'm just going to look through some of the lineups I have here, but tier 1, I landed on Ronald Acuna the most. Tier 2, Fernando Tatis. Tier 3, Jonathan India. Tier 4, Juan Soto. Tier 5, Corbin Carroll. Tier 6, Ketel Marte. But also, if you guys are ever in between two players when you're making tiers lineups in baseball, like I was saying, try to lean towards the stack. So even something like, all right, if you want to play Acuna in tier 1, you could also go Austin Riley in tier 5. You could go Sean Murphy in tier 6. There's ways to build out stacks and really correlate your players. That is what's going to be most important. You could build Brave stacks in tiers today. You could build Padres stacks. You could build mini Diamondback stacks. But the ones I just laid out for you, just going tier by tier, those are the ones that overall make the most sense in each tier. So Slim Lancaster, thank you for your super chat. Now, let's see what we end up getting for FanDuel here. What is different about our FanDuel lineups compared to our DraftKings lineups? Well, first of all, Framber Valdez, once again, super prominently popping up here over for FanDuel purposes. And then also, this looks like just really heavy Diamondbacks and Padres stacks. So if I look at the hitters, Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Corbin Carroll, Josh Rojas, Jake Cronenworth, Carpenter, Marte, Xander Bogaerts, all of our top projected, all of our most rostered hitters that we got to on FanDuel are stacks of those two teams. So just based on that, and by the way, this does mirror the lineups I have as I'm looking through my exposures. I am getting to, these are two of my most rostered teams on FanDuel today. Diamondback stacks, Padres stacks. And it looks like our lineup generator tool is kind of mirroring that. So a couple teams that I think we should be focusing on for FanDuel for sure. And we're about to be talking about some of our favorite stacks as well. So let's go and look at that, Neil. I'm pulling up the top stacks tools now over at Stokastic.com. One of my favorite tools that we have to use. And also, if you guys haven't signed up at Prize Picks, like I talked about before, they are the sponsor of today's show. And if you sign up there, you are going to get 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. If you're in a state that has legalized sports betting like I am, and you don't have access to Prize Picks, we also have you covered because we have a similar deal with BetMGM. If you guys haven't checked out BetMGM yet, you could also make a deposit, minimum of $10 over at BetMGM. And when you sign up using our link, that is also going to get you 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. It also comes with a risk-free bet of up to $1,000. If you're anybody you know has a gambling problem, call or text the number 1-800-GAMBLER. And oh my God, look at this idiot on screen here. Thank you very much, Jordan, for leaving the screen share on, because I forgot what some of these images look like. And this is...
That's a good one.
Yeah. Eric does not take any flattering pictures of himself, does he?
He really does. He's such a handsome guy. You'd think he'd have more flattering photos.
Yeah, and he looks like a massive idiot in every single picture taken of him.
And these are the pictures that he chose to send in, is the crazy thing.
Yeah, so in fairness, though, if I'm going to let you behind the scenes a little bit, I do request to our graphics department when Eric sends pictures, like only pick out the ones where he looks the dumbest, because I think that's what helps us the most on shows. So if you guys want to keep some of these graphics of Eric in circulation, go sign up at BetMGM using this link. First bet insurance of up to $1,000, and then also 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. And here we go. Here's Eric right here, who's already trying to defend himself. We took those in Chicago in all exclamation mark. You effing losers, get out of here.
I wasn't there. I don't know, Eric. Give me a break.
That is true. Neil was not there. I don't know why you're blaming, because I assume Eric is blaming Neil right now.
He's probably blaming me. It's definitely me that he's blaming. I know that all of the pictures that they have of me are pictures that I had to, like, they asked me like, do this expression, do one from this. And so I sent in a bunch of pictures, and then I regretted it after they started using some of them. Like, God, I don't really like that picture, but too late at that point.
Eric, I did not send those pictures in, is what I'm saying. Okay, so first of all, Eric's a liar, which we kind of already knew that. But yeah, no, these are pictures, but some of these pictures were ones that you absolutely sent in. No doubt about it. This is as good as Eric looks in photographs. It's just the way it goes. Anyway, sign up at BetMGM. Get a 1 month free access to all the tools we have at Stokastic.com. And Neil and I are about to be breaking down our favorite stacks of this slate. So, Neil, right off the bat, I want to ask you, what is the number one stack you're getting the most exposure to tonight on DK?
That is a very good question. I mean, so it's going to be a few. So I set kind of flat exposures here.
Okay.
I really love Toronto, one of my favorite stacks, going up against the Yankees in Toronto, not getting a ton of ownership. So of the stacks that I'm hitting the maximum with, I think Toronto is the stack that I am most, I would call my favorite here at 4% ownership, 6.4% chance of being a top stack. A little bit expensive, but I think I'm willing to pay up a little bit for the Jays.
Okay. Yeah. And I do think that certainly makes sense. And what's funny is this is not a slate that's, I would say, typical of my baseball exposures, because very frequently I am going to be playing a lot of chalky pitchers, and then I'm going to be underweight to the field on some chalky stacks. But when we were talking about pitchers before, I mean, there are relatively contrarian pitchers that I'm playing on FanDuel. I talked about Hunter Green as my most rostered pitcher. With that being in mind, I have more liberty, in my opinion, to be able to go a little bit chalkier with my stacks, which is why I'm landing on a team like the San Diego Padres and getting to a bunch of Fernando Tatis against Brad Keller, even though this is the most popular stack on FanDuel. This is not a spot that I'm typically going to and how I build my lineups, Neil. Today, though, it's an exception. If I'm going to a Hunter Green who's projected for single-digit ownership on FanDuel, I could go to a team like San Diego, and that's something I'm doing. So I'm getting to a bunch of San Diego. Fernando Tatis is currently my most rostered pitcher. I'm feeling pretty decent about it. So for DraftKings purposes, though, Neil, is San Diego a team that you're going to be getting to over there? They've got 10.5% projected ownership as a team, and coming in with 7.3% top stack odds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love that they have the negative leverage there. I do have about 10%, so I guess I'm right with the field on San Diego right now. I'm thinking right now, if I need to curate my lineups a little bit closer, because I just set kind of a hard cap on stacks, and I got to some of the stacks that I wanted to get to, but then I'm also like, maybe I should press into that a little bit more, some of the more positively leveraged stacks. But San Diego is just such a good offense that I think I'm okay with it. Can play them. I'm looking at the first San Diego lineup that I have here is a nice little wraparound stack with Nola in the 9-hole, followed by Tatis, Cronenworth, Machado, and Juan Soto. So I do kind of love the very first San Diego stack that I'm looking at. Yeah, I guess I think I'm okay with being right with the field at about 10% San Diego.
Yeah, and by the way, I have to address something right now, because Wookie23 says, this reminds me of the Friends episode where Joey has gonorrhea. His image is plastered all over New York City. So I want to clarify something. Eric does not have gonorrhea. I know, because I recently got myself tested. If he had gonorrhea, I would have gonorrhea. He's clean. There are no issues there whatsoever. So Wookie, no slander around here, only facts. We only bring you the truth. Eric does not have gonorrhea. He's got other issues, but gonorrhea isn't one of them. Some other questions that we have coming into our Discord channel. This is Bean Dude, who just sent me a picture of Eric. There's no other question, Bob. It's just a picture of Eric from Bean Dude. And then we have a question here from Mr. Westry, who wants to know best stacks outside of cores. So if you had to, Neil, just make a list of, let's say, your 3 favorite non-core stacks today. You do it for DraftKings, and then I'll do it for FanDuel. Which ones would they be? 3 favorite non-core stacks.
So Toronto, I already named as one of my favorites. I think I'd go to the other side of that game as well. The Yankees we have coming in at just 2.5% projected ownership, 4.7% chance to be in the top stack, and 6.1% chance to be in the top value stack. So I think I would throw the Yankees in there as well. And then after those two, man, it's hard. The Phillies look good, but they're in San Francisco. I kind of hate that they're there. I think I would probably just go to Arizona, even though they're in Oakland. We have them at 9% ownership. We have them at 9.7% chance to be in the top stack, 9.2% chance of being the top value stack. I think it might be those 3: Toronto, the Yankees, and the D-backs.
So I'm looking. I like the Yankees, by the way. I'm overweight to them as well. In particular, Aaron Judge. Judge only projected for 11% ownership on FanDuel, so I'm well overweight to him. This is a situation where the Yankees are going up against Alek Manoah, who, it's hard to know what to make of Manoah because it's not like he came up to the big leagues as a super well-regarded pitcher, and then he broke out in such a massive way last year where Manoah was one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. Manoah last year, 2.24 ERA, 3.31 expected ERA, and then he's just been absolute dog shit this year. Yep. So if you look at Manoah this season, a couple of red flags. Number one, just the results being bad, 4.83 ERA, 6.3 expected ERA. Listen to this note, though, Neil, which is something that makes me think maybe there's an underlying injury or something like that involved. Last year, the average fastball velocity for Alek Manoah was 93.9. This year, it's 93.1. That is a really, really big downtick for a young pitcher. 24 last year, 25 this year. You don't really see that kind of drop off unless there's something really wrong mechanically or something wrong health-wise. Something doesn't quite seem right with Alek Manoah. It introduces a lot of variance to this. So I'm with you. I like getting overweight to the field on the Yankees, Aaron Judge in particular, as a lower owned pay-up option. So they're going to be one of them for me. Mentioned the Padres already. And the other one, the Arizona Diamondbacks. They were popping up a bunch when we were building lineups before. Good matchup for them against Drew Richinski. The ballpark isn't great in Oakland, but still, Arizona's offense has been better than expected this year. And the other thing, too, is not only do you get good matchups against the starting pitcher when you're going up against Oakland, they got a terrible bullpen. You knock the starting pitcher out early, you're just facing more bad pitchers the rest of the game. So give me the Arizona Diamondbacks as another team that I like getting to today.
Can I give you the follow-up from Bean Dude? He says, I have no question, just that his pick looks like he sells dude wipes and is excited when the witch hazel hits just right.
There we go.
I enjoyed that follow-up comment.
So there is an alternate universe where Eric was the ShamWow guy, and they do kind of look alike, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll have to take a look at this ShamWow guy.
Yeah. Who was the ShamWow guy? What was his name?
Vince Offer?
Really? There's no way there was a guy who was doing... His name was Vince Offer, and he was doing these like weird things on
He was born
QVC.
To do it. Yeah, he was born to do it.
God.
He's no Eitan Shander, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, there's an alternate universe. If Eric was born 15 years later, because he'd be a little bit old to be like Vince Offer, but yeah, like if Eric was just born a little bit later, he was a little bit younger, I'm telling you, he could have been the ShamWow guy.
It's a bummer. Just stuck here instead.
Is the ShamWow guy dead, by the way? There's always rumors about that.
I can look it up.
All right.
I've gotten that before. I forget what he looks like. He's just a big guy with a beard, right? Looks like Vince Offer's still alive.
All right.
They call him a comedian on Wikipedia.
Interesting. Yeah, 59. So he's a little bit younger than Eric. So either way, though, yeah, Vince Offer, that could have been Eric in another time frame. That could have been Eric. Let's see what we got in Discord here. We had... no other questions that have come in. So let's go and look back at some of our exposures. And are there any offenses that you're viewing as overowned, that you're underweight to the field to?
I mean, I'm underweight to the field on Cincinnati. They're coming in at 16% projected ownership, 12% chance to be in the top stack. Like, they're a little bit overowned in the top stack, so I'm going to have 10% Cincinnati, as is usually the case. The Coors Field are going to find some overowned offenses, and that's the case with Cincinnati here. So I guess they would be number one on that list of offenses that are a little bit overowned. I mean, we don't really have any other super high owned offenses. As I said, Atlanta's coming in at 10.5%. I'm right at 10% Atlanta. So really the answer is no. Like there's no offense that are coming in such high volume that I'm really concerned about the ownership. Cincinnati, if there is one, would be that one for me.
So, what's funny is because as I'm looking through my exposures here is there's a big difference between the Reds on DraftKings and FanDuel. Their overall ownership as a team on FanDuel is 7.9%. It is 15.9% on DraftKings. So we actually have in our top stacks tool, the Reds is one of the most overowned teams on DraftKings and one of the most underowned teams on FanDuel. And it goes to show, if you're playing on different sites, how you just land on different teams, different players. This is one of those scenarios. The Reds to me look great on FanDuel. One of the most under-owned teams, whereas on DK, I do think they're worth being a little bit underweight to there. So the Reds would not fit that bill, at least as far as FanDuel goes. One team on FanDuel that I am not getting to as much as the field is the Seattle Mariners. So Tanner Houck, who is, I think, better than people give him credit for. The other thing also is he's projected for no ownership. So I'm a little bit overweight to Tanner Houck. He's in like 5% of my lineups, which, has me 10x the field that is 0.5% projected FanDuel ownership. But also, we currently have the Mariners as the second most popular offense on all of FanDuel. So with that being the case, I like being underweight to them. Also kind of gives credence to playing a little bit of Tanner Houck in large field tournaments. So Mariners, a team that I am going to be undercutting. Now, one other thing that I think we should discuss here, Neil. What is the most contrarian stack that you are getting overweight to the field to, but in a significant way? Not like a team that's 2% owned, you have 3% stacks of. Are there any really contrarian stacks you're taking some sort of stand on?
Not really. So it would be the Yankees is 2.5%. I have 6.7. Again, I'm only playing 30 lineups, so I have 2 full man Yankees stacks, and that puts me at 7%, which is 3x the field. But like, this isn't like basketball where I take huge stands in general in baseball. If I curated my lineups a little bit more, I think the Yankees would still be the answer. I would have more of the Yankees if I really forced it a little bit more. But I'm a little bit more than 2x on the Yankees, and that's as big of a stand as I'm taking today. How about you?
Let's see. Most contrarian stack that I actually have any kind of reasonable amount of exposure to, it is the Texas Rangers against Charlie Morton, which is just going to make sense, right? They're one of our most positively leveraged projected offenses. And then on the flip side, and if you're playing single entry, like the Rangers are not a team I'm stacking up. But if you and I both thought that the Rangers going up against Charlie Morton, we thought that Charlie Morton is the most overowned pitcher on the slate, and you and I are both coming in underweight to him. Doesn't make some semblance of sense for us to be making Ranger stacks for the leverage by that same idea.
That does make a lot of sense. Yes.
Yeah. So the Rangers, who are projected, once again, the Rangers are projected for 0.7% ownership on FanDuel. On DraftKings, they're projected for 0.9% ownership as a team. If you're building 20 lineups today, I think one of them should be a Ranger stack. One Ranger stack should be in play if you're building 20 lineups.
I really like that. I actually, as I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't have any. I was just looking through since I'm playing 5-3 stacks. I don't have like any even like one-offs or anything like that. But yeah, there's positive leverage there. And I think that it's, a lot of the times you see positive leverage among the worst stacks. Like they're just going to be like, oh, this stack has a 0.6% chance of hitting at 0.2% ownership. There's great leverage there. But like there's real, I think in this case, we have pitchers that are inconsistent enough that it makes a lot more sense to go to some of those really low owned stacks. And I agree with Texas. You had in the leverage of Charlie Morton being on the other side. Yeah, I like that.
We've got Bill Miner in chat is bringing up that on FanDuel, believe it or not, Neil, they've got the wrong lineup in FanDuel on the app there. He wants us to correct it. It's not anything I could do about it other than saying don't pay attention to the FanDuel lineup. Like whatever green check marks they have in there, don't pay it any attention. And I think probably the big issue is that McClain is batting second for the Reds, and he's not in the player pool on FanDuel. So I assume that that's screwing something up there. But don't ever pay attention to the FanDuel lineups when you're building lineups. But no, I can't fix. Can you fix that, Neil, or is that not within your power?
I don't think I know a guy at FanDuel to help me. I don't think anybody knows a guy at FanDuel. I don't know if they have guys that can fix stuff at FanDuel anymore.
No, they've got plenty of people who could break stuff. It seems
that's right.
Fixing that's a little bit more complicated. I think I could probably say bad things about FanDuel and not get banned like I did at DraftKings, right? I think FanDuel we could, right? I haven't gotten in trouble there yet.
People have sent so many videos of you to FanDuel being like, he is cheating, and that nobody's looked at the videos because they don't have anybody there.
Yeah, nobody works there. It's just bots, and they outsource their customer support. So yeah, no worries there. I don't even think they have a way to help people. So the big thing here, though, Bill, don't pay attention to the green check marks. Don't look at any of that. It's basically all nonsense, and it's not accurate information. Don't get your information from there. Get your information from us. We've got the show. You could always reach out to News God, the king of news, the god of news. But yeah, don't look at the green check marks. Any other stacks? We just got a couple minutes left here, Neil. Are there any stacks that are popping up to you that we've not yet talked about?
No, I mean, I'm not playing any of the low ones. I'm a little bit like, yeah, I guess you could play St. Louis. Like they're one of those offenses that's been so bad this year, but you kind of think they should be good. They're facing Freddie Peralta, coming in at under 1% ownership. Sort of interesting to me, but I don't think I'm actually playing them. So, we don't need to really talk about the stacks. I'm like, yeah, that in theory, I feel like I could have gotten to some of them. None of them are like so good that I feel like we've made a mistake not talking about them. Greg, I gave my home run pick this morning on the strategy show, which is Byron Buxton. Do you have a home run pick?
My home run pick. I can tell you who I hope it is.
I mean, that's kind of what it is. It's just who do you pick to hit a home run? You can pick whoever you want. So you can just do who you hope is your home run pick. You can make that your home run pick.
Is it cheating to say Aaron Judge? He's only projected for 11% ownership on FanDuel, and I have him in 25% of my lineups.
Adam and I, our only rule is no course.
Okay. So I am going to do this two ways then. All right. Aaron Judge is going to be my official pick because he's Aaron Judge. He's not projected for much ownership today. But I'm also going to scroll through my lineups and see who is a hitter that I'm way overweight to that I think is live, but also can't be a Coors Field hitter. Can't be Coors Field. I don't want to pick like some crazy stud either, though. That feels like, I want to, Judge already feels a little bit like cheating.
I mean, Buxton too, but not like Judge, not to the same extent, but still.
How about if I say Josh Rojas? I'm overweight to him. I like Diamondback stacks. I'm overweight to the Diamondbacks, overweight to Rojas. Yeah.
I think it's fair.
All right. Sure. So official home run pick, Aaron Judge. Lesser home run pick here is going to be Josh Rojas. We got one more question to answer here in our Discord channel. This is from Einstein. He said, no love for Seattle. No, that is probably the team I'm shorting the most tonight.
I'm playing a good amount of Seattle. I've got 23% JP Crawford, 17% Julio Rodriguez. They look okay. They're coming in at 9% ownership with an 8% chance to be in the top stack on DraftKings. They're in Fenway, so love that. But yeah, tougher spot against Tanner Hawk. But yeah, I'm playing a good amount.
One thing that's different, by the way, it's funny how these ownership, like what's seemingly minimal, can make a big difference when building out lineups. They're projected now for 11.5% ownership on FanDuel. Pretty big difference, like the 9% to 11.5. Those margins make a big difference in baseball. But that brings us to lock here. Any further thoughts for the people, Neil?
No, check out Lineup Generator if you haven't already. I just put a link in Twitter. I think you did one as well, Greg. So you can get Lineup Generator 50% off. It ends today. That deal does end tomorrow, I should say. So today's your last chance to get access to Lineup Generator for 50% off for a week. But yeah, it's fun to be doing some late night baseball shows. I prefer doing shows in the evening, so it's more fun to talk about at 5 o'clock Central Time as opposed to 11 a.m. Central Time for me. Although I've kind of gotten used to it at this point, but it's fun talking baseball in the evening.
And we've got some home run chats in the home run calls in the YouTube chat. So read some of these off, and then we will head into lock here. Sports Wiz calling for Yelich. Dub K gave us 2 home run picks, 2 for the price of 1. Jace Peterson and Yordan Alvarez. Ryan Stubbs, Sid Semien, Malukar went with Ozuna. Emac, Corbin Carroll. Arcathelza went with Varsho. And Jake Swales calls for a Bauer leadoff home run. And then one other one that I'm going to shout out because he went with a double dong. Gary Gregg, great last name. Vlad Double Dong. That is the call from Gary Gregg. And that does it for us. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you've not done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you want that free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, sign up at PrizePicks or at BetMGM using the links that we have below. And that does it for us. Basketball returns tomorrow, but still, we're going to have baseball and basketball shows going on. So check out all of that. Good luck tonight, guys. See you back here tomorrow.